in this offense. You got to think Milrow, right? Maybe with one of these first few picks in the second round. I know not everyone's super high on him, but he's really athletic. He makes right decisions when he's running the ball, but when he's passing the ball, it's almost like he just cannot find a way to find his receiver, read the defense, break down coverage in a fast way. He struggles with it. Is he worth a second round pick? That's going to be the curious thing as we are figuring some things out, but. Is that Joe Thomas up there? It's hard to even tell what he looks like anymore.
You got an offensive lineman right now who's lost at least 250 pounds, I'd say, since his playing days. And they're going to go linebacker. So for the second straight pick, the Cleveland Browns have gone defense. How do we feel about it in the room? And the crowd goes mild. All right, linebacker Carson Swessinger out of UCLA. Brandon Soeder, punter, what is Carson going to bring to this team?
Real quick, Cole, are you back with us, my dude?
Dom.
All right.
Browns need defensive help in the worst kind of way. Re-sign Myles Garrett there, long-term extension. Drafted Mason Graham last night, and now here we go. Carson Schweinsinger from UCLA. What do you feel he could add to this Browns defense?
This is a linebacker room where JOK, big question mark after that injury that we don't know what status he's in. We know he's walking again. We know that he's working out and rehabbing. But what will his status be? We don't know what JOK is going to be next year. You have Devin Bush, who failed in Pittsburgh, failed in Seattle, had a decent year last year. But this is the linebacker core that's been desperate for help. Maybe they found their man in the young stud from UCLA. This is a linebacker group that was pretty abysmal a year ago.
It was real bad.
Devin Bush showed some spots, but he is not a guy that you can plug in for 3 straight downs every time. Now with 2 linebackers, you can kind of reinvent this core. You have a defensive line that can cause havoc. This is a group that can have a lot more potential than we saw a year ago. I'm excited with this pick. I think it's a good one. I think it's a smart pick, and right now, again, this is hindsight's 2020. This has been a smart draft for the Browns.
So far.
They're not looking for the big name, but they're looking at the ones that are going to make the impact right now, and that's what you want to see. That's what the Patriots did in their run. That's what the Steelers did. That's what the 49ers did in the 80s and the Cowboys did in the 90s. This is how you win championships. It starts one draft at a time, one pick at a time, especially in the second round. It could be a good pick here when you're drafting here at linebacker, a group that really needed help.
Absolutely, guys. And again, this Houston Texans pick now on the board. This actually belonged to the New York Giants. We saw that trade late last night. Now, Dom, would you say this pretty much guarantees the Cleveland Browns are not picking Shadir Sanders or Jalen Monroe in the second round? We have Cole back with us as well.
Cole. And again, I apologize for the technical difficulties. Cole, do you have us here?
I think his headset is off.
So Dom, would you say this pretty much guarantees that the Cleveland Browns are not picking a quarterback in the second round tonight?
No, I think that the quarterback is still something that they can get, right? I mean, the quarterback room, you have Joe Flacco, who's, about to be 40 or is 40, and you have a Kenny Pickett who, I mean, let's be honest, is really unproven. So I don't think there's any guarantees that they may or may not get a quarterback, Vince, as we have another pick, our second of the second round.
So Jaden Higgins, wide receiver to the Houston Texans. We like to say the term, the rich get richer. They just did. The Houston Texans already wide receiver heavy. They're going to get Higgins. They're going to get a little bit better with this pick. Obviously, you know, a lot of speed there. They lost Stephon Diggs, but picking up this young man is only going to do wonders to help this phenomenal Houston Texans pass attack offense. Don, would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, I do agree with that. This is a team, you are losing Diggs, right? But you kind of lose that ego as well. You kind of lose the personality that has struggled in Minnesota and in Buffalo.
Struggle in Buffalo with the ego.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So now you bring in a young kid, no ego. You would imagine as a second-round pick, a rookie trying to make a statement in his first year. He can learn behind Nico Collins and Tank Dell in a decent tight end core. And a quarterback looking to have a bounce-back year in his third year. This is a good pick. It's a smart pick. Maybe the wide receiver room wasn't the biggest need that they had going into the draft, but it is a smart pick. Now you have multiple options for your young quarterback, one that struggled last year compared to his freshman campaign. So, again, quarterback, not a bad pick here for the Houston Texans.
And it does look like Seattle trading out of the 35th overall pick here. They've made a trade. They took guard Gray Zabel in the first round. Somebody Cole McDaniel said was a stretch for him at the time. but it looks like Seattle going to trade back a little bit. Seattle coming off a 10-7 season, finishing second, but out of the playoffs by computer points last year. And they do say the pick is in, so perhaps first it said trade and then says the pick is in, my man. So let's see where the Seahawks are going with this selection. Again, guys, head down to Chatty's Pizzeria here in Bay Village, Ohio, as it continues to fill up with celebrities all around. We have my mom 5 feet away, a walking miracle. Make sure you come up, say hello to her. That never gets old, right? And then we have the picks right here as well.
Well,
I see that young man's enjoying his pizza. He's hanging out of his mouth.
Well, your mom, the walking miracle. What if I want to learn more about your mom and her experiences? There's a book about it, Vince.
It's called Fight Maria Fight, available everywhere. And I can assure you, no problems picking up a copy there. I will sign it. And now they go to commercial. So Seattle, we're only 2 picks into the second round. And as we said, that second round goes fast and furious.
All right. For the last time, Cole McDaniel, are you with us? You are not. All right.
And again, fans listening at home, we appreciate having you with us tonight. Little audio-only version. If you want to see the real thing, head out to Chatty's Pizzeria here in Bay Village. Please, by God, spin the wheel. It's less stuff I have to pack up at the end of the night. You know, Dom, we sit here night 2 of the draft. Your Pittsburgh Steelers dodged the bullet last night, not picking Shadir Sanders. But my man, he's still on the board.
He is. Again, I know we're saying dodge a bullet, but there are a lot of things to like about Shadir Sanders. He is smart when in the pocket. He makes good decisions. He finds his guys down the field, and we've seen him make some of the best plays that we saw last year. Again, this isn't some kid that just wandered into the draft. I know, he followed his dad to Colorado. No, he earned the right to be there. I understand that because his dad was coaching there, it seems that way. He could have went top D1 if he wanted to, but no, he went to go to his dad's program and build it that way, and then he transferred, utilizing the portal and NIL. His brother Shiloh follows, who's also in the draft as a cornerback. You have a young man that makes good decisions within the pocket. He's extremely accurate, and he does make phenomenal throws down the field. But when you don't have Travis Hunter with you, that chemistry, what's it going to be like in the NFL? And you have these personality concerns. But I can tell you right now, we've had other quarterbacks with personality concerns as well. I mean, Eli Manning, one of the biggest ones where he essentially said, I'm not going to go to San Diego. Even Caleb Williams' dad last year was telling the Bears, hey, my son may not want to play for you. And that was a question of, did he want to go to the Bears? Would he hold out if he went to the Bears? That was something that we were concerned about. So we've seen quarterbacks with character issues. Again, second round, you already got your first pick out of the way. If you need a quarterback, Sanders is still a good pick. I don't think that he is that much worse than Jackson Dart or worse at all. The fact that he slid back down this far, I think we're slandering a young man beyond of what he should be slandered by. I think if you think that he has any ounce of talent, and he does, you need to take him in the second round if you want him, because once we get closer and closer to that third round and he's still there, someone's going to take the chance.
Only time will tell, Brandon.
Yeah, and with Seattle getting ready to make this pick, I'm calling my shot this time. Cole McDaniel, who do you think Seattle's taking here?
I think that Seattle potentially could take a here. They're coming up on the clock, about to put that pick in. We're trying to sort through some technical difficulties here. So
All right, you got a little cheer when you came on, Cole. People are excited to hear your voice.
We have a ton of people lined up at the prize wheel. Ladies,
Good.
let's go. Let's spin something fun over there. We've already given away 3 bottle openers to little kids. I don't know how I feel about that, guys.
Look, man, someone will get use out of them.
I think more than the Seattle Seahawks, I'm interested to see what the Cleveland Browns are going to do here at pick 36. Again, after picking a linebacker, I think it's probably here with we're still on the board.
You think that for Seattle, though, with Kenneth Walker, with Zach Charbonnet, I know it's I think they need to readdress the offensive line. They got Gray Zabel yesterday. Sam Darnold needs some tackles, though, as well. I mean, Geno Smith, I don't think it's enough credit for what he was able to do behind an awful line last year. I'm not nearly as confident in Sam Darnold this time around.
I think last year was a fluke. Seattle's pick. being made right now as we speak. I believe that's Richard Sherman.
Richard Sherman. All
Sporting
right.
the nifty blue suit with the dreads as well. And yeah, Cole, we're going to get to it a little bit later in the night, but I do not believe Sam Darnold by any stretch is a long-term answer there.
No.
Bit of a stopgap. We got a young man sporting the Messe jersey.
Messi.
Yeah, whatever. And the pick is in. It is Nick Amawari, the safety out of South Carolina. Cole, where was he on your board?
Eamon Wari, he was my number one safety in this class. I felt like he was the best one. Physical, strong safety. He was number 17 overall on my big board. So I said last night, Seattle, they had the biggest reach, the worst selection, in my opinion, for the value of where they were at in the first round with getting Gray Zabel, my 100th overall prospect. This one, good value. Beginning of the second round, pick 35. You walk away with, my opinion, the best safety in this draft. I think he's going to add a lot of physicality. Going to be a nice addition on the back half.
Yeah, again, at this point in the Nick Amawari, definitely one of the best available. I'm going to continue to pound the table for both Will Johnson and Mike Green, which it seems like there is a reason that each of those perspective picks are falling. Will Johnson, if y'all haven't seen it,
It's got to be
this
the
point,
injury to Will Johnson.
Yeah, there's apparently something else with his knee that's now popped up. He didn't run a 40 either throughout his process, so teams think he might be kind of hiding something, hiding the severity of that injury. So again, a lot of speculation there, but you could have done much worse than Nick Amawari for the Seahawks. Again, maybe they feel that their offensive line is solid enough. They are not historically known to really invest a lot of high picks in the offensive line, especially on the interior. So it was a little surprising that they were so connected to Gray Zabel early on. Cleveland Browns now up
All right,
for
gentlemen.
their second time.
And for the second time here in a matter of 10 minutes, as you said, they're picking here 10 minutes into the show. Guys, they've gone defense to start this draft. I have to believe at this point, they can go defense again. And I almost believe they would have took that safety just now if he didn't come off the board.
Well, here's the thing, Vince. You do not have to wait. The Cleveland Browns have selected Ohio State running back Quinshon Judkins.
And I got a feeling the young man in Columbus sitting in his home is happy to talk about that. Go for it.
Very happy. And I think my opinion on this is it had to be one of those two Ohio State running backs. It made the most sense. Funny thing was Travion Henderson actually became the betting favorite to be the number one pick at the start of the second round today. So pick 33, it was expected to be potentially Travion Henderson. But the Browns had a top 30 visit with Quinshon Judkins, and Judkins was the power piece of that 1-2 punch, that incredible backfield in Columbus. Extremely productive in college at Ole Miss and at Ohio State, and him going to Ohio State from Ole Miss probably added another 2 years on his career because he didn't quite take the workload that he had at Ole Miss. So the ability that he has, the contact balance, I think it's a perfect fit. And I think Judkins, his running style, gives you the opportunity, if you don't want to bring Nick Chubb back, you don't have to. I felt like Henderson was the guy, if you're definitely bringing Nick Chubb back, then maybe you take Henderson. If you're not sure if you're going to continue with Nick Chubb in the future and you're not going to bring him back, then just take Judkins and you can have that 1-2 punch with him and Ford. I think they could still bring back Chubb to handle short yardage and goal line touches, but they don't need him if they don't want to pay him.
Let me stay with Chubb real quick for a second, fellas. To the best of my knowledge, he is an unrestricted free agent, correct? So no matter what he's offered, that part of it doesn't even matter. It's, hey, who does he want to sign with? Okay. So with that being said, I kind of feel like Nick Chubb is the kind of guy who would almost relish this role now to stay with Cleveland, kind of mentor this young kid from Ohio State, Judkins, and be a part of it. To me, Cole and you guys, I almost feel like it's just a matter of, do the Browns still want him for one more year? And I kind of feel like they have nothing to lose by bringing him back for another year, working this kid into the rotation, and seeing where it goes from there. Either way, this is a safe pick for the Browns. I absolutely love it. Dom?
Yeah, there's a lot to like with Judkins here. I mean, when he went to Ohio State, Cole was right on this one. It really took his game to a new level, mainly because he didn't have to carry the ball as much. You have another back that you can run with in Henderson, and you also have an offensive line that's better than Ole Miss typically is. And then there's other options on the outside. It made things easier for him. It allows it when he does get the ball. It's not, hey, the linebackers know every time where Judkins is on the field. Now, hey, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, tight end 1. You have to know where everyone is. Judkins, he can run between the tackles. He's quick. He'll hit the hole fast. He has good vision. He's a smart running back, and he can also help in third down situations. He's fast. He's speedy. Decent hands on the running back. It's a good pick for the Browns. They needed a running back. It's been a group that's been pretty bad for the past 2 years, and it's been because of Chubb's injury. Chubb comes back this year, not the same, takes him a while to get warmed up, and then all of a sudden, he's out again. We don't know what the situation will be with Chubb, and I know that he's a hometown favorite here. People might not like that I'm saying this, but it might be time to move away from Nick Chubb and time to welcome Hello Judkins. You are the new star of the Cleveland Browns when it comes to the running game, and right here in Cleveland, we love the running game, and Judkins can be that next star running back. I think he has the potential of doing that, even as a second-round pick.
And you need a next level, too, and Cole and Brandon, let me know what you think about this, but ironically enough, it's Miami who just made the trade to make a pick here, but think about it for a second. You said we're a running town, we're a running team, right? Cold weather is where it's at late in the season, and if you really think you're going to make a playoff push, last time around we ended up in a dome in Houston, but the chances of that happening again probably slim to none. You might have to go onto the road to a team like Kansas City, a team like Buffalo, a team like Baltimore, all right? All cold weather cities. That is when, more than ever, that running game is going to be badly needed, and defense. Running game and defense. And that's two things that I feel that the Browns have certainly addressed with these first 3 picks. Brandon, would you agree with that?
Yes, they have. Again, my question still revolves around what exactly is going on at quarterback because nobody on the roster is a long-term solution. And again, I'm not particularly comfortable with the idea of just trying to quote-unquote tank and get somebody next year because you bring in Joe Flacco, right? Flacco was good enough to take the Browns to the playoffs. He's a significant upgrade versus what we had before. We're not going to be quite good or bad enough, rather, to go after a high pick next year unless we really start to try to mortgage the future again. So I love Quinshon Judkins. This is an excellent pick. I think he was the best running back still available. I had him even above Travion, but again, I feel like the priorities are not quite straight with this franchise, and we still have massive question marks around the biggest position on the team. And now not picking till the 3rd round, it doesn't necessarily look like that's going to be addressed anytime soon unless we get a real project guy towards the end of the draft.
So real quick, just to update you guys before we go back to Cole, in that trade, it was a simple 2 for 3, a few switches of the rounds. I was going to actually name you pick by pick, but the TV cut out. That's beautiful. So the Miami Dolphins, Jonah, I'm not even going to try this one.
Jonas Savaiinaea.
There you go. They're going to go heavy on that offensive line with another guard.
So before I touch on Savaiinaea, I have to push back a little bit on what Brandon said about quarterback. I feel like this isn't the quarterback class to necessarily you have to dive in to grab somebody. I think Joe Flacco and I think Kenny Pickett can compete for that starting job, and I think either with a really good defense and a very good run game, and getting back to Browns football of a couple years ago with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback, I think that type of offense, I think you can be successful and get to the playoffs with either. Now, are you going to make a Super Bowl run? Absolutely not yet. But they're taking strides in the right direction, potentially to bounce back from what was very disappointing last year. And remember, you don't have to tank to get a top quarterback this next year. You made the trade at number 2 with the Jacksonville Jaguars, who gave up their first rounder next year. So you wouldn't necessarily be using your pick for a quarterback. You just have to hope that the Jacksonville Jaguars are bad enough to get you a decently high draft pick. It may pan out for the Cleveland Browns still. They're going to have 2 first-rounders next year. And if they desperately need to go up and trade up to get earlier, again, they've got a couple assets that they could leverage to move up if they need. So the Browns played it smart with the Travis Hunter deal. It set them up for the future. I don't want to really say too much about the Dolphins here. I think the main thing with them, yes, they need offensive line help. They need to get more physical in the trenches. They did that with Kenneth Grant yesterday. They did that with the pick here. But that's my main thing for the Browns is remember, the Jags pick has set them up to think about next year.
Again, more than fair. I don't know if I'm comfortable thinking that Jacksonville, again, is going to be bad enough to move up. Again, maybe we can package those picks together to go and get something, but it's tough for me to try to predict the future with these quarterback classes, especially with NIL now. Guys that could potentially come out are staying in school and getting more money. There are going to be a few good seniors coming out next year, so again, maybe we got a shot at it. I am very much pro take the guy that's in front of you. I like Shedeur Sanders better than most. I would have gladly taken him and let him sit behind the guys that we do have, but it's obvious at this point that it's not going to happen. And really, I mean, Vince and Dom rather, where does the slide stop? Where do we see the next quarterback come off the board in general?
My goodness. I mean, just looking, I have all the teams in front of me here, guys, and boy, oh boy. It's a matter of when does New Orleans want to start their rebuild?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, pick 40. They're a few picks away.
Right.
Pittsburgh.
Justin Fields. I mean, I love Justin Fields. I know Cole loves Justin Fields. Do the Jets love him that much? So I'm just saying, in my brain, just say Pittsburgh. Cole, that did not slip past me. But
I mean, they don't have a second round pick. If you want to take Sanders with your third round pick,
the third.
go ahead. Be my guest. I'm fine with that because then you have a quarterback room, still the worst of the AFC North, of Mason Rudolph and Shedeur Sanders. And I don't even know who the third guy
worse
is.
than the Browns? I mean, I like Joe
It is.
Flacco, but
it is
man,
worse than the Browns.
It's, yeah, true. I think, and we're going to get
Mason
to it a little
Rudolph
bit
is a
later
backup
on.
to Kenny Pickett.
He's going to continue to slide. Cole, Patriots, though, Drake May, clearly he's their guy for at least another season. New head coach there, with Vrabel. Probably want to see what he has with them. I'd say at least 2 more years with him. So clearly that's off the table. What do you think they're going to do? We got about 90 seconds until the pick is in. So we've got a little bit of time here to break it down. The Patriots, to me, got better as the season went on, and then shockingly fired their coach at the end of it because he had the utter nerve to win their final game of the season. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. What do you see the Patriots doing tonight, bud?
Well, actually, in this very same spot in my mock draft, I had them taking Travion Henderson of Ohio State. I think it'd be a perfect complement for Ramondre Stevenson, who is power back. I think you get him a speedy back who honestly would probably quickly become the starter, who's probably more talented. But you get those two splitting carries. Antonio Gibson's there as the backup at the moment. Gibson's had some good moments in his career, but he's a former wide receiver. He's a good receiving back. He doesn't bring as much as what Henderson could do on the ground, where he's a home run threat constantly. So I think you got your left tackle in Will Campbell to help protect Drake May. Get him some help in the backfield. So another rushing talent, a guy who can also be a receiving threat out of the back. And I think Travion Henderson, he's got some Ohio State guys who are probably in the ear of Mike Vrabel saying, this guy's a star. I think there's a good chance here.
And guys, as they continue to file in left and right here, a rainy night in Northeast Ohio, go figure. But it is still a packed house at Chatty's. One by one, they're starting to pile in. Great food here, great pizzas. I see my own family sitting over there to my left, having some cheese pizza there and enjoying themselves. So head on down and grab yourself a slice. The pick is in. Got 2 TVs going on at once and about 10 different conversations, but from what I could tell, the pick is definitely in, just waiting on it to be announced.
Yeah, as they're still trying to kind of go through this, I don't mind the idea of a running back like Cole said. I think wide receiver, though, also needs to be addressed. You have a young quarterback in Drake May. You bring in Stephon Diggs, which is great, but with his injury history now and him getting older, I don't think he is a long-term solution by any means. My next best receiver off the board would be Jalen Royals out of Utah State. But Alec Iomaner is still sitting there at this point. Jack Betch, Trey Harris. There's plenty of options for the Patriots. Luther Burden. Oh, that's right. I still cannot believe Luther Burden did not go last night. That is yeah. So, yeah, Luther Burden, I think, makes a ton of sense if that's the route they decide to go here. I'd say I don't have my board up in front of me, but he was, I think, in the low 20s as far as total prospects for me at 38. It'd be an absolute steal.
Here's a quick over-under for you. 3.5 years Bill Belichick is the head coach at North Carolina.
Under for sure.
I'm thinking under as well.
Now, is it under because he gets sick of it or under because he wants to go back to the NFL?
And there's another Ohio State Buckeye off the board. The Patriots They pull the trigger on Henderson.
Well, Vince, I felt like this was the pick here, and was sitting on this one. I think after Judkins goes off the board, I think Judkins and Henderson were always destined to go pretty close to each other because they were right around the same spot in my rankings. I had Henderson as my 22nd overall prospect, Judkins as my 15th overall prospect. Judkins was my number 2 running back behind Ashton Genty, and Henderson just missed my top 3. He was my number 4 running back. The only reason he wasn't number 3 over Caleb Johnson is just because of his injury histories. But because he didn't have as much of a workload because of him splitting carries with Judkins this past year, he stayed healthy the entire season, and both of them were phenomenal for the Ohio State Buckeyes. I mean, it was one of the most insane running back rooms you've ever seen in college. So smart move for the Patriots. Figured that Mike Vrabel would potentially be talking to his Ohio State colleagues and former cohorts, and that Henderson's name would be brought up. But it makes a lot of sense. I don't think the Patriots feel as strong about Ramondre Stevenson as a lot of other teams feel about their starting running back, but that's a good partnership there. And the possibility of Henderson becoming the starter for a long time is likely as well in the next few years.
So I'm going to give you guys a little sneak peek for later. I know we're going to talk about it towards the end of the show, but when we rank each division, who's going to finish where, I actually have the Patriots not finishing in last. I have them finishing in third, and this is before the draft. I actually wrote this down a few days ago. With their first couple selections, I love this. Like you said, the offensive lineman, now the running back. I actually have them finishing third behind Miami and drastically improved in their first year under Vrabel. Really like what the Patriots are doing. And they're going to be having a bit of a chip on their shoulder, right? They're going to want to be able to eventually, that city, that franchise, especially Robert Kraft, is going to do what it takes to say, hey, we could win without Belichick. We can win without Brady. They're off to a pretty good start tonight. Don, would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think this Patriots team off with a good pick so far in what they're building. They needed an offensive lineman, got the offensive lineman, and now you have a running back to build off of. And you had a running back room in Ohio State where it was pretty impressive. Cole was right, and there was a reason why Howard wore a hat that said "Run the darn ball," which is a hat that I need to buy.
You mean surefire NFL Hall of Famer, Will Howard?
Don't get me started. He's a bum. He can't play. But I think one reason why we think Howard is so good is Henderson is one of the 2 reasons, and Judkins, the newly crowned Brown, is a reason as well. It's a really good running back room in one half of that running back room now in New England. I think they're building something nice there in Foxborough, and it starts with the run game. If they can get that going, boy, is it going to make things just a little bit easier for Drake May.
Yeah, and one of the tougher divisions too. The Bills are so far ahead of everybody else. Brandon.
Yeah, and Cole talked about Travion being a potential replacement for Ramondre Stevenson, and I do think that eventually happens. But for now, I think it's a great compliment as well. While Ramondre is not like a top 10 running back in the league, he's reliable. I kind of compare him to what Amarian Hampton, I think, is going to end up being. He is not a world breaker by any means, but he can be a productive back and can at least help you establish that run game, where Travion is going to be your home run hitter. As the game starts to wear on, as the lines start to get tired, that's where you're going to see Travion kind of step in and start showing the speed, start really breaking the long runs off. And eventually, I think he will be a more productive running back than Ramondre. But for now, in his rookie season, that is going to be an incredible tandem for them. I do still think they got to address pass catcher a little bit.
Yep.
But overall, yeah, I agree. This team is vastly improved. There's still a lot of holes they need to fill. But as you said, with how volatile the AFC East is outside of the Buffalo Bills.
And didn't Diggs go there?
Diggs is there.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think that's a long-term play.
Agreed.
But that division second to fourth in that division can go pretty much anywhere at this point. We don't know what the Jets are necessarily going to look like with Fields. The Dolphins have to prove they can stay healthy. The Patriots definitely have an upward trajectory.
Yeah, I would say so. Ironically enough, here we are with the Chicago Bears, right? You can almost say the same story for them. Young quarterback, need to build a line, need to build a running.
And they have built that line in free agency. I'm sure Cole will agree with me. They did a good job really early on in free agency of getting that group together, finding some veteran guys to rally around their young quarterback. Because, boy, was that offensive line bad a year ago.
We got another winner of the prize wheel. The first lady tonight to win a Frisbee. So far, it's been all candy and bottle openers, encouraging little kids to drink.
Maybe I might need to spin the wheel. Faith,
gotta
spin the wheel for me. Maybe I can win something.
It's less crap for me to have to take home tonight. So as many people who can spin this wheel, do me that favor.
I only want it if it's the Frisbee, Faith.
Emily wants me to jam as much nonsense in her basement as possible.
Or candy. What is it?
It's time to buy another dog.
Oh!
So Faith, the prize girl, stepping up and walking away with a Frisbee.
It's yours. You can give it to your cat.
She drove the longest to be here. I'd say in the entire room, probably nobody drove longer to be here today than Faith. So she deserves a couple spins of the wheel.
Well, speaking of winning things, the Chicago Bears taking one of the best players still on the board in an already crowded wide receiver room, but Luther Burden III out of Missouri, you are a Chicago Bear.
So there it is. Not Luther Vandross, but Luther Burden has been selected. Collier.
Well, I think, guys, there's two interesting things. And one interesting thing is that our lads already updated the New England Patriots depth chart, and Travion Henderson is ahead of Ramondre Stevenson already on how
Good.
they placed that depth chart. I don't know if that's quite going to happen yet, but it'll be interesting to see what happens this offseason. Again, I think.
Cole, how did you know that already? Do you have alerts set up for Ohio State players showing up on our lads?
No, I have a tendency to look at these teams' depth charts as we're talking about formations and things. So I just popped onto that, and they update it like 10 seconds after the pick was made. Very impressed with how quickly they're doing that. But the Chicago Bears, by the way, looking at their depth chart, just I thought this was the case. I really like this pick of Luther Burden, and don't get me wrong, because we kind of hit hard on them a little bit for the Colston Loveland reach yesterday, and feeling like there were better picks for them. But Luther Burden was my 13th overall prospect and my number 3 wide receiver in this class. I think he's a really talented player. Again, I view him as a guy who can play on the outside, but I actually think he's going to do better as a slot receiver in the league. I think has the versatility to do both. But Chicago, they probably need big wide receivers. They've got actually a pretty small wide receiver room. DJ Moore's not a huge guy on the outside. Romo Dunze has some good size. I think he's likely going to align on the outside, which I think of the 3 starters, that means Luther Burden probably will be the slot. But they brought in Olamide Zacchaeus, Devin Duvernay, Tyler Scott, Miles Boykin. I mean, I'm looking down the list, and I see a lot of smaller receivers who are more slots. So interesting that they're not going for size, but I do think it helps to add the talent.
So Luther Burden III, and we have Matt McKee going after his 3rd slice of pizza. Oh, is that a 4 or a 5? He's on 4, folks. Growing boy.
Yeah, listen, he's growing. He's a football player. He's a kicker. He's a basketball player. He's only going to get taller, Vince. So he listen, if he wants a 5th or a 6th, let the kid have another. I mean, geez, he's what, 14 or 15?
There's been talk about a 3rd leg, all kinds of, just height
15?
galore for this kid. He springs like he has 3 legs. It's amazing how far he could jump.
He moves like a 3-legged cat.
But he's never owned a softball bat. So here we are tonight, the NFL draft. It is Chatty's Pizzeria. Brandon, Dom, Cole remoted in. You guys having fun so far as we are? I haven't even looked at the clock. About 45 minutes
it's
of the first
flying
round.
past, and after we got through a couple of those hiccups to get started, this has been a lot of fun here so far. The picks fly in on day 2. This is the fun part. There's not nearly as much build-up. There's not nearly as much, over-analysis. It just kind of goes. These teams are shooting from the hip here. New Orleans Saints currently up right now. They are definitely, I think, a spot where the next quarterback could go.
This could be it.
Then there's a lot of still
Sanders
only
Gate.
2 quarterbacks off the board.
Albert Breer believes that this is where the kid from Louisville gets drafted. Just sent out a tweet now. So is this the spot where we see a quarterback?
Shock.
I'd still love it if it's Jalen Milroe.
Jalen Milroe, yeah.
Out of Alabama.
So with Shock, again, we talked about it yesterday, especially you, Brandon, and Cole, you touched about it as well, where this team thinks that their window's open. Ever since Drew Brees left, they think that they can win now. So taking an older quarterback, he's 26 years old. The Browns did that with Weeden. They thought they could do it. Wasn't the case at the time. Now the pick is in. I'll click the button there, Brandon. And they think that if they can get Shock now, they might be able to win and win now. As I'm looking at every TV I can, the wheel's going.
We got a mile long to spinner's wheel, about 7 people lined up to spin that wheel as we speak.
And by the way, guys, I think Quinn Ewers is actually the best fit at quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. But clearly, if Albert Breer thinks it's going to be Shock, then it's probably going to be.
And Cole,
him.
it is. It's Tyler Shock. He's the newest New Orleans Saint.
Oh
this is why you have tweet notifications on for Albert Breer.
That is incredible. Somewhere in Colorado, there's a hole in the wall. Cole.
Well, guys, there's something to be said about this pick, and I wasn't impressed with his tape. He
Wow.
didn't make my top list of quarterbacks this
Same
year.
here.
I had Curtis Rourke and Riley Leonard above him. Is he a better passer than Riley Leonard? Yes, he is. But I think Riley Leonard, his running ability, just pushes him ahead a little bit. So I look at this guy as a guy who struggled at the combine, and I just don't love what I've seen from him. And the problem for the New Orleans Saints is this is the guy you're hedging your bets on now to try to take the job from Derek Carr. I got to break the news to you. Sorry, Tony Bogan, and sorry everybody else who's a New Orleans Saints fan.
Poor Tony.
Derek Carr is now your guy this year and maybe even longer because I don't see him beating out Derek.
We see the young quarterback celebrating with his sister and his mom, possibly girlfriend, but
Young loosely. He's older than me.
he's 26?
Yep.
That's unbelievable. So it's really Brandon Whedon 2.0.
I think Brandon
And
Whedon
from
was
one Brandon to another Brandon. No,
I think he was
27.
older.
You're right.
Yeah.
But one Brandon to another Brandon. Wow.
See, at least Brandon Whedon went and failed at another sport before he got drafted. Tyler
What
Shuck,
sport?
again, he is outside of he was a baseball player. He got drafted, I think it was by the Yankees. He was drafted by some MLB team. Anyway, not important. He's out of the league, and Shuck's not going to hang around too much longer either. You cannot convince me that Shuck was a top 3 quarterback in this draft even a little bit here. Not just the age. He's a good enough pocket passer. He has some mobility to him. He checks those boxes. But again, the things that I don't think you're going to be able to fix at the next level are how he performs when the pocket is not clean. He tends to bail quickly, and he tends to lose his technique the second that he's facing pressure. So now the Saints have a very strange quarterback room. You have Spencer Rattler, who I don't think they've completely given up on yet. You have Derek Carr, who you're paying, so you can't give up on him. Now you have Tyler Shuck. This feels like a messy situation where we could see 3 different quarterbacks starting over this season and maybe even into next. There is no clear guy. There is no clear answer in New Orleans, and this pick of Shuck doesn't do anything to add on to it.
And people just walking away with a prize at their prize here. Guys, let me just ask you this as we see another trade. Looks like Buffalo's going to bump into this pick in a second. It's the elephant in the room. We have to go back to it again, right? Because we all said New Orleans could have been that destination for Sanders. Cole, I'll start with you, my man. How much of this has to do with who his dad is, the ego, wearing the New York Giants fleets? How much is Deion Sanders hurting his son right now?
Well, I mean, the hard thing is a little bit of it is Dion, but I think a lot of it probably is Shador himself and the way he's acted and was unprepared in the situation. And I think people would say, well, that's not Dion's fault. But the thing is, it's your boy. You raised him, right? And I think that Shador should know better. He should know he should come in prepared, that he shouldn't have the ego, that he should be humble, right? Because his dad should be able to give him that advice. He's walked in that life in the NFL, and he didn't necessarily operate that way because that's not how prime time did operate. And it's coming back to bite his much less talented son. And Shador is a good quarterback, but he's not a great enough quarterback to overcome those potential issues. I think it's costing him a lot of money and costing him a lot of time here and disappointment. Somebody's going to take him here today, but it might not even be a situation where he wants to be in because he might not even have a shot to start quickly.
So interesting here, Buffalo did move up. They gave up an additional 2nd-round pick this year to move up in this draft. They took Maxwell Harrison in round 1, who I think most of us agreed was a reach, the cornerback out of Kentucky. Dom, Vince, Cole, anybody, who do we think that Buffalo is targeting here? They obviously see somebody that they weren't expecting to still be available on the board at this point.
I mean, when you see a team jumping into the 2nd round, there's somebody that they're eye on. I mean, I'll trust Cole's opinion on this one, though.
I mean, it's tough. I mean, there's somebody that they obviously have their eyes on. I would say that this could be interesting. I know that Green is still sitting there. Yesterday, I have no clue he's still sitting there. I also think that Caleb Johnson would be a nice complement with James Cook. Ray Davis was a fine backup, But I think you could get a running back that's even more stellar, and you could have a really solid, strong three running backs in that. I could see them going corner again here. I don't love their secondary, and Will Johnson is still available.
I say corner. I think safety is a very replaceable position for them as well. I know that's starting to thin out here a little bit as I buy time to take a look at my own board. No, those are wide receivers. That is not helpful. Xavier Watts. What about Xavier Watts, guys? He is somebody that I feel like every time you talk to anybody that does mock drafts, everybody loves him, but nobody really seems to know where they're going to slot him. He's talked about as if he has first-round talent, but again, being a safety, you've got to be elite, I think, to be taken that high. Do we possibly see Watts coming off the board to Buffalo?
Potentially, he was my number 2 safety ahead of Malachi Starks, so I value him highly. It's just a matter of if they would actually do that. Andrew Makuba of Texas potentially could be in the mix as well, but I said it last night. DeMar Hamlin is not the answer.
So again, the reset shop here, Chatty's Pizzeria in beautiful Bay Village, Ohio. I am Vince McKee alongside Don Clary, Brandon Soeder. We got the prize wheel going off, which feels like every 20 seconds here, and a packed house at Chatty's. We want to thank everybody for coming out. And if you want to be a sponsor, as Chatty's is for Keon Sports, email me, Vince McKee, at vince.mckee@keonsports.com. Again, guys, we're going to get to it here in a little bit, probably in the second hour of our show, which is set to begin in about 10 minutes. You know, Buffalo is definitely going to be one of the teams that we talk about when we get to the one segment about, maybe who's a step away. So, to me, they obviously see this because anytime you're trading into that top 50, there's clearly a need. You feel you're one player away from filling, and this is what they're doing, an aggressive nature. We'll talk about Sean McDermott in a bit, but at some point, the Bills are going to have to make some sort of drastic change if they can't get over that hump. And clearly, it is not Josh Allen. So let's see what they do here. Looks like TJ Sanders.
TJ Sanders,
yes.
defensive tackle out of South Carolina.
So again, beefing up the defensive line.
Yeah, TJ Sanders is a good defensive tackle. I'm not sure why they felt the need to trade up here. I think he's a good player. He was my 85th overall prospect in this class. I believe he was my 7th defensive tackle. I think that somebody who's still available on the board, who I think if you really need a defensive tackle, and they do, but I would have been more interested in them taking Darius Alexander of Toledo. I had him one spot above TJ Sanders. He's a bigger body. I think he's a little more physical. Sanders is undersized, and he gives you some of that speed and pass rushing ability. Maybe they think that this could be their good Ed Oliver backup, but he'd be a nice piece to the rotation, which is fine. I think the only reason they'd maybe trade up to here is if they felt like they need to get over the San Francisco 49ers and the Jets here, the next 2 picks. Both of them could potentially be in the defensive tackle sweepstakes. So they got the guy they liked, but I'm not necessarily super moved by the Bills' picks so far in this draft.
Now, Cole, do you think a guy like Alexander isn't getting picked in that spot because he is a smaller school guy? Like, do you think, because again, I know pardon me, but with Fannin Jr., I know I've been about him all week, but with Alexander, do you think it's kind of the same thing where he's a second round talent that might fall further in a round or beyond that round just because he is from a smaller school?
I think sometimes. I think you really, really have to shine when you're not at one of those Power 4 conference schools now. I think that Kenyon Mitchell did a good job, right? But Kenyon Mitchell probably even went later than what he should have last year.
Yeah, I mean, he was a late first round guy that, again, if he goes to even a Louisville, maybe he's the 15th pick or the 14th pick. Maybe probably not too much higher than that, but I'm with you on that where, again, it may not make the world's difference where, guys falling into the 7th round. It's not a D3 to D2, but I feel like some of these guys are just slipping a little bit further than they should, or they're just not getting evaluated the same way.
Yeah, it could be half a round. It could be a full round. And I thought Darius Alexander would be a 3rd, 4th round pick, but I value him a little bit higher than TJ Sanders. So I think that if Sanders is off the board, Darius Alexander should have already been off the board. But clearly the Bills, they wanted something else with that fit. They're a little bit different defensive tackles, but I think TJ Sanders actually would have been a guy who was better in a 3-4 base defense, right? Where he's actually not really in that defensive tackle spot. I actually think he'd be good as that oversized defensive end. But needless to say, the Bills, they're going to do what they want to do there. Their team clearly.
Thing too is, and again, I agree with both of you on Alexander being the slightly better prospect than TJ Sanders, but and Cole, tell me if you disagree. I feel like the two deepest positions in this draft are running back and defensive tackle. Correct?
That's tough. I mean, maybe at defensive tackle, I wasn't as big on defensive tackle. I actually thought there weren't too many position groups that had a lot of depth this year, sadly. I think it was really running back was the only position group that I looked at that was very deep. And then I looked at the tight end group as being the next strongest, where the top 6 or 7 or 8 guys.
Blink 182 song that you sing. Right
Of course
now.
they are.
The small thing. We're not doing a concert.
You got to do it, Dom. I mean, this is too perfect.
No, I'm not
It's right
doing
now.
it.
Bust
no,
it. Go.
No. She give me roses by the stairs.
So karaoke night at Chatty's. Anybody else who wants to come up, let us know.
I've been told the pizza's good. I didn't have a chance to try it just yet.
Oh, it's incredible. Oh, there you guys go.
Cole, again, we want to thank you for joining us from lovely Columbus, Ohio, where I'm sure it's all a buzz right now. And I mean, I'm
Is
trying
it
to think.
lovely?
I bet it's
It
lovely.
is also raining,
Is it really?
Yeah.
of course.
I'm trying to
It's
think. No,
Ohio.
and you know what? The answer is probably obvious, and you guys are going to laugh at me, but I'm trying to think the last time the Cleveland Browns had an Ohio State running back.
Carlos Hyde.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who used to eat at Chipotle a lot. Fun fact.
And he was also not good at football.
And we've had a,
Oh, I don't know about that.
All right. No. Hyde was
Let's go with the Texans for a
Hyde
year.
gets a bad rap because he was the one sitting in front of Nick Chubb, even though everybody knew that Chubb should have been starting his rookie year. And Hugh Jackson just could not quit on the dude.
wasn't. Yeah, and there was a third in that mix too. They sent back in. It wasn't just Hyde and Chubb. There was like another running back in that room at some point.
Probably, but it
And
was
they
all
finally came to their senses.
all Chubb. Finally, New York Jets. Mason Taylor, tight end out of LSU, is the selection.
That's
Cole.
a nice little pick, Cole McDaniel.
Well, it's a smart pick. I mean, the New York Jets, they need a starting tight end. I mean, Jeremy Ruckert is their number 2 tight end right now. So it was destined that they were going to take a number 1. It was just a matter of who it was and when they did it. Mason Taylor, my 73rd overall prospect in this class. So I still think, in my opinion, a little early for him. But I mentioned this tight end class is very, very strong at the top. There are going to be a lot of players that are solid starters for many years to come. Mason Taylor should be one of them. He's got the NFL genes in him. But I think the main thing with Mason Taylor here is that this Dallas Goedert, Luke Schoonmaker, maybe type prototype, he's going to fall somewhere in between those two guys. I think with the Jets, it gives Justin Fields another target, but Mason Taylor's also a fine blocker as well. I think it's a smart pick. Again, Harold Fannin Jr. is the better tight end out there right now. But again, small school guy, LSU, the LSU guy is going to go here earlier. We're still going to wait on Fannin, but overall, good for the Jets still.
I'm going to get mad. We're taking all these tight ends that aren't better than Fannin Jr. He outperformed at Texas A&M. He outperformed against Penn State. But no, let's take the LSU guy that obviously he does not have the same intangibles that Fannin Jr. has. Oh, I'm starting to get upset here if this keeps happening. How many tight ends do we have to see off the board before who I have, the very best one, finally gets taken?
Maybe 2 more.
That's. I hope you're joking.
No,
he's
I'm
probably
serious.
not wrong based on consensus. We're all very high on Fannin Jr., but
No, are those guys being? There's no. They have to know that Fannin Jr. might be the better prospect. No.
Potentially. I mean, they would have to.
And really quick, guys, we can go right back to that, but San Francisco has selected Alfred Collins, defensive tackle out of Texas.
Alfred.
Alfred.
It's a bad first name for a football player.
Yeah, I mean, I think you forget his name is Alfred once you actually look at the dude.
No, I don't think it matters. His name's Alfred. Cole?
Yeah, he is a guy I would have really liked to have seen in a 3-4 scheme. He's a true nose tackle, big body in the middle. But I think in that 4-3 scheme with the San Francisco 49ers, I thought there was a chance that they'd take Kenneth Grant or somebody like that who's a nose tackle in the first round, but they didn't. And now they're able to continue to add to that defensive line. So they probably reach for Michael Williams in the first round at pick number 11. But now they take Collins, who I think is a good nose tackle, probably again early for him to go, but it was a major need for the 49ers. Again, they passed up on Alexander, who probably is a better fit in a 4-3 than what Collins is. But here we go. So Bowling Green and Toledo, you should both have some gripes right now.
Well, let me just throw one more in there. What about Marshall, guys? It feels like these small schools, particularly this year, are just not getting any love at all.
And these are schools that have developed NFL talent. Toledo, year after year, you're talking about Mitchell, you're talking about Hunt, you're talking about the wide receiver that played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I cannot remember his name. He was a star wide receiver.
Only we had a Steelers fan.
Only if we had a Steelers fan. I mean, Cole. I mean, help me out here.
Antonio Brown.
Not Antonio Brown. Central Michigan. He was a MAC guy. So you have all these MAC guys that have proven. Ben Roethlisberger is going to the Hall of Fame in a few years. And constantly, we see these MAC guys slide. What? Because they played on a conference that's, super competitive, but doesn't have all NFL talent. I get it. When you're playing at Ball State on a Wednesday night, it's not appealing, and there's not a lot of NFL talent on the other side. But when you go against Texas A&M and you shine, when you go against, what conference is Marshall? The Sun Belt.
Marshall really didn't look that bad against Ohio State for the beginning of
Marshall was a good football team at the Group 5. The fact that these players are getting ridiculed the way they are and sliding the way they are, it just doesn't make sense. Talent's talent no matter where it's are. No. If he has the size, if he has the speed, if he has the intangibles, if he can win football games at any level, he can help you win football games. Just because he played Ball State on the Thursday doesn't mean that he can't help you beat the Steelers on a Sunday night.
And guys, let me just chime in real quick because I do not have a computer in front of me. I'm really running blind here. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Byron Leftwich, Larry Fitzgerald, where did they go to college at?
Fitzgerald was Pitt.
Pitt.
So that was ACC.
Was he? Okay, I'm sorry. But Leftwich was definitely Marshall, correct?
I can tell you Moss was.
I think so.
There's a big name player. I don't have it in front of me, but it's on the tip of my tongue.
Chad Pennington was Marshall.
Yeah.
Chad Pennington.
There's been some decent
Bruce
talent.
Goskowski.
Yeah,
no,
Toledo.
Gronkowski was Toledo. Yeah.
Still Mac, though. Yeah.
Went to school with Emily. He actually asked her out and shut him down. Yeah. So
I don't blame.
that's
she
a true story.
You coming
that's actually a legit story.
Who really won?
I'm not even joking on that one. But no, listen. Like to me, talent's talent, right? And we've seen that time and time again.
Leftwich was Marshall, by the way. You were correct.
I was right about Leftwich, right? And then so Leftwich, Pennington. I don't know why I thought Fitzgerald, but I don't know what I was thinking there. But Randy Moss.
Again, plenty of talent in these schools. So I thought we started seeing a shift last year when Quinyon Mitchell, again, should have gone earlier, but still went in the first round and was still cornerback 1 taken. Thought maybe we saw the philosophy shift a little bit. In this day in media, you can see guys play anywhere. You're not just going to get recruited out of the big schools. You can find talent where there's talent, but it seems like we've really, really regressed here so far. Really no small schools have been represented at all at this point as I kind of go back through here. And there are plenty of good players. There's of course I'm blanking on his name now, but we have a player from William and Mary that should be drafted here in the first 2 days of this draft. We'll see if he now goes. I'm just wondering if this is a massive philosophy shift across the league, or if it just happens to be that the league isn't big on these particular prospects.
Yeah, it's just I hate how it's the second round. He went to Bowling Green. We can wait. I don't get it. Going in, we knew that Fannin Jr. was the consensus tight end too. Cole, where did you have him on your list?
I had Fannin was my number 2 tight end. You were absolutely
Okay.
spot on with that. But he
So-
was my 20th overall prospect.
Yeah, and where are we at? 44. So he is sliding 14 picks below where you had on his on your list. Brandon, do you know off the top of your head where he was on your list?
He was lower.
Okay.
He is 61 on my list,
He's
but he is still
61?
tight end 3.
Tight end. Who do
And-
you have two?
Two, I had Tyler Warren, I had Colston Loveland, and then
Okay.
it was Harold Fannin.
It's just you watch the tape and everything that you want in a tight end, it shines. He has the hands, he has the speed. And I keep hearing this, oh, well, he doesn't have the size to block. He can block. You've seen him block. He did it at Penn State and Happy Valley. He did it at Texas A&M at College Station. This kid can perform no matter who he faces against, and he proved it.
Guys, we have Devin Lowe at the prize wheel. We got to cut in for this.
We have
He looks very nervous. Then we got
Dallas
to pick
pick
at
is
once.
in.
We got two things going on at once. So he's going to spin again. Cowboy selection going to be Shador Sanders. Nope, it is definitely not going to be. Cole, I'm going to let you handle this last name as well, my man.
Donovan Ziruaku, he
Thank you.
is going to be a threat on the opposite side of Micah Parsons. I mean, he's a very talented pass rusher, very productive, got a lot of sacks at Boston College. Now, is he going to offer much against the run? No, I think there's a weakness against the run, but he was my 88th overall prospect. I mentioned that what I do like about this edge rusher class is even though aside from Abdul Carter, and then I think Mike Green has the potential wherever he lands. I think he's the potential to be a star, but he's sliding. And behind that, there's a lot of good edge rushers. I don't know how many great ones can actually come out of this class. That being said, I still think there's a lot of players that can make an impact. And this was my 11th edge rusher in this class. But my 11th edge rusher was number 88 overall in my rankings. So that tells you that my top 11, my top 12 were pretty high on my list when it came to my overall big board. I'm surprised that they went edge rusher here, though. I thought they could have gone Will Johnson at corner, or they could have gone running back. So maybe not the biggest need for them, but Dallas, again, we'll see what they can do, but I'm not too impressed with the way Dallas has trended last year and so far this year.
Cole, do you think that this is a pick that's more to complement Parsons on the other side, that he might not be able to stop the run, but they don't really want him for that? They want him more to kind of fit in that role that we even seen at Pittsburgh where, hey, just rush the pass rusher and Parsons, hey, he'll do the rest. Do you think it's more of that kind of pick?
Potentially, but then they need to focus on getting some really strong run-stopping defensive tackles, and I don't think they have that right now.
So, interesting one here. Indianapolis Colts, correct me if I'm wrong, went tight end.
They did Tyler Warren.
Yeah, Tyler Warren to start things off. Again, still a messy quarterback situation with Anthony Richardson. As it starts to come in cold, do you have any idea where this might be leaning?
Well, I'll tell you what, I think I'm just a little bit ahead of you guys here. So, I know the pick came in and it was just announced.
Another Buckeye.
Yeah.
JT Tuimoloau, edge rusher, Ohio State.
Correct. JT Tuimoloau. I didn't want to spoil it for you guys, but I got to say this. I mean, the Buckeyes are going to have a really impressive run tonight. We talked about it right at the beginning. And I think what bothers me here with this one is as much as there's talent here, I still value JT Tuimoloau. There's no reason why Tuimoloau should go ahead of Jack Sawyer. I think Jack Sawyer is the more consistent edge rusher. I think that he is probably going to be the more successful one in the NFL. JT Tuimoloau has a really nice skill set where he's got the talent to make some plays. But he is a roller coaster. I mean, he had the game where he demolished Penn State and just did everything for that team. It was unreal. And then he's had so many games where he's disappeared, where I think that Jack Sawyer is always at least noticeable on the field. So he doesn't have a ton of pass rush moves. He's just got some decent length and some decent speed, and he stays after a play. So I think for the Colts, Tyler Warren, great pick to start the draft. The Colts are one of the worst situations for him to go to, unfortunately. And then you have JT Tuimoloau, who I think can perform for them. But again, they're going to ride a roller coaster of games where he plays and performs and games where he's nowhere to be found. So it is what it is. Happy for Tuamoloau, but hope he can find consistency.
Yeah, not particularly surprised Tuamoloau being picked here over Jack Sawyer. Sawyer is more consistent. Looking at his tape, I'm a little worried that his athleticism isn't going to quite translate to the NFL, at least in the eyes of NFL GMs. So I'm not particularly surprised that Tuamoloau comes off first, but it looks like as the LA Rams are getting ready to pick, we have a special guest.
Nice.
So, guys, we have a special guest with us tonight. He is co-owner, him and his lovely wife, of Chatty's Pizzeria and also Chatty's Tavern out in Midview. Well, Grafton, I would say.
Grafton.
Midview to the high school because I'm a dork.
Middies.
But, yeah. But hey, first of all, thanks for having us.
This has been awesome. You're welcome. Thank you.
We enjoy it very much. So far, I think the partnership has been phenomenal, and we haven't even come close to the best part yet, which is clearly this fall with high school football. I'm telling you now, it's going to blow your mind. So thank you for having us. Who's this nice lady taking the picture right
That's
now?
Deborah.
Hi, Deborah. So where did you grow up at?
So Lakewood. I'm a Lakewood guy. Live in Bay Village now, and a couple spots in between.
How'd you get into the food industry? Because nowadays it seems like nobody wants to touch with a 10-foot pole, but you got the lock on it, my man. This place has been packed all night, and this is one of the few places that didn't hit any kind of recession. You should be very proud of yourself.
Thank you. I was fortunate just to have good people growing up with. Michael Simon, who taught me how to cook, Frankie Rogers. I just was surrounded by good people, servers, cooks, people that made you want to be around them, want to be around food, and I got lucky to learn how to do it along the way.
Well, that's awesome. You said you grew up in Lakewood. We have a St. Ed's player over here. We got somebody over there. I believe that's my dad with the old hoodie on. Now, was there any kind of rivalry? Because we're here tonight for the NFL draft, but our biggest thing by far is high school athletics. That's where we made our name. Back in the days when you went, was there a rivalry that Lakewood had?
St. Ed's took us off the schedule when I was there.
Okay. That's a good thing.
We wouldn't lose.
Yeah.
They were a very good team. I didn't play football, so I was more of a baseball track athlete. But yeah, St. Ed's, they got us in football, so they stopped playing us.
So most importantly, one of the cool things is my wife and I had come here a few times before I even met you, right? Before you guys were even a sponsor, and I loved it. I loved the atmosphere, and I actually love this little room that we're in here tonight. When somebody comes into Chatty's for the first time, what can they expect?
Hopefully, like they expect it to feel good, like you're just walking into your house, coming to a family meal, getting some good food, hanging out, feeling comfortable, just being good.
It's awesome, man. Again, it's a good community. We have a Bay Village resident right there, Bay High graduate. I want to say 98, right, Abs? Abby 98 there. So
I would say 2005.
Oh, look at this fat kiss up over here. But I mean, all joking aside, though, I mean, this seems to me like the type of place you can hand down to your kids one day, and they can hand down to their kids. It's a family atmosphere. You have to have a lot of pride in that.
Oh, I love it. And we just signed we're into a new lease with the Metro Parks for 15 years, so
Wow.
We'll be here for a while. Hopefully things go well and we keep going and going and going.
So the other biggest thing that I noticed is everything that you offer outside of the room we're sitting in, right? On the outside. So let's say in about a month from now, a beautiful May night, we'll say the middle of May, a family comes out and they say, man, we want to sit outside. It's beautiful. What accommodations do you have for them?
So there's 60 seats out front that we open up. All these garage doors in here open up. So people really love sitting in here because you've got the breeze still coming through. The roof kind of protects you from the sun a little bit. And then we got a lot of seating out there. People bring their dogs, strollers, kids. We got a little waiting area here to, have a cocktail while you're waiting.
There you go. And, which mansion on Lake Road is yours? all joking aside, you got to, have you had any kind of Browns or Cavs or Guardians coming in here?
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool feeling, right? You got to get a wall of fame.
Nah. They like to come in, eat some pizza, and just chill.
That's awesome.
We leave them be.
Well, I appreciate you having us in. This is a first for us. We've always done this in our studio that we have. This is kind of our first remote, broadcast. So we're loving every second of it. We appreciate you working with us.
Very cool.
I try to be as serviceable as possible, not hammer you with emails and all that nonsense. And I don't know if you know this, but I'm the world's worst salesman. So I don't know what that says about you as my customer, but I do appreciate it.
I'm the world's worst promoter, so we're good.
Brandon, you've been in the before you joined us, you were in the food industry for a long time. Do you have any questions for Matt?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
No, it's funny because the first time I came in to kind of scope out the place and make sure the equipment worked and everything, you made mention that you were cooking, I think, here in the morning and then going off to your other location in the afternoon to do something else. Like I used to manage restaurants. I was part of the rail when that was still a bigger presence around here. So not really a question so much as an appreciation. The fact that you show up and you're willing to do everything every day despite being the owner. Because I've worked for plenty of owners that would not do that. They would just let their staff struggle, let them figure it out. But the fact that you're willing to get in there and get in the trenches, I know it obviously shows in your guys' product and your guys' staff. So again, awesome that you were willing to do that, and I'm happy to see things are going well, and really happy to be able to partner with you this year.
Thank you. And it's tonight I'm cooking. You got the dirty apron, right? My wife's doing dishes. One kid's doing dishes tomorrow. My other kid's helping me cook tomorrow. So it is a family effort back there.
So, kind of final question for you, and really the most important one. Where are you located? Where's your place in Grafton located? Where can we find out more about you?
So the Bay Village Pizzeria, it's across from Huntington Beach. It's in the Bay Arts Plaza in the Metro Parks. And then in Grafton, we're on the corner of 83 and 57. If you know the area, you've known it as the Trading Post or Jailhouse Tavern, and now it's Chatty's Tavern. Just turned 4 years of being in Bay Village, and this June is 2 years in Grafton. So it's been awesome.
Awesome, man. I'm going to put you on the spot. One last question here for you. I know you're busy on Friday nights.
Yeah.
I know you're
As we can see.
People like pizza on Friday nights.
I get you. Now, if you ever get a night off, a Friday night off in the fall, we need to have you on the broadcast. You need to let me know by like Wednesday of that week. If spontaneously, by some miracle, you have a Friday night off, we want you to come on the broadcast and talk with our guys during the game. How does that sound?
That sounds great.
Sound
Thank you.
good?
Sounds
My
good.
man, thank you so much
Thanks.
for having us. And again, guys, we appreciate it. We're out here at Chatty's in Bay Village. Owner Matthew Harlan joining us. And we'll see how agile he is to try to get around without knocking down the sign here. Did a good job. Thanks again, sir. Thank you. So, Brandon, we're going to welcome Dom back in here. I'm going to go dead ear for a second.
All right, just to update everybody as Dom is getting set back, we missed a couple of picks there. Terrence Ferguson went number 46 to the Los Angeles Rams. He's a tight end out of Oregon. And finally, the slide has stopped for Will Johnson, the very talented Michigan cornerback, one for me, and I believe Cole as well. He goes 47 overall to the Arizona Cardinals. So them doubling down on defense, not a bad move at all, as we mentioned yesterday. Kind of hard to name some Arizona players off the cuff. So I'll throw it over to you, Cole, just some instant reaction for both the Terrence Ferguson and Will Johnson picks.
Well, it's important that the Arizona Cardinals, they touched on defense. We talked about that a little bit yesterday, where I think offensive-wise, they're actually on the right track, and they were competing to potentially, make it into the playoffs. And they made a run at it right at the end of the season and just missed. But if they could have had the defense shored up, I think they could have won another game or two, which would have gotten them in to the playoffs. Would they have gone very far? No, but they really were in a decent spot last year in a weaker NFC. Will Johnson, the slide finally stops. He was my cornerback number 2, just behind Travis Hunter, but he was my 8th overall prospect. So my 8th overall prospect slid way down, and we'd heard about his stock dropping and made it to pick 47. But the one thing I want to touch on, the pick before, the Los Angeles Rams, sure, they need a tight end. Terrence Ferguson, my goodness, I had mentioned that there might be two more tight ends coming off the board before Harold Fannin Jr. That is not one of them that I anticipated. Ferguson was my number 9 tight end in this class, and here he goes over my number 2 tight end, Harold Fannin, and it's time to get Dom back in here because I'm sure he is in rage.
Yeah, what are we doing? I mean, he is one of the most talented players in the draft, and we're going to let him slide because he wears brown and orange and has a falcon on his helmet. It's disgusting, Cole. I can't stand it. You have this player who has proven you can hand him the ball up. He'll make a play. He'll make 1 zip miss, 2 zip miss, 3 zips miss, and he'll make a play and win a game for you in the MAC. He proved that he could beat Toledo by himself if he needs to. With a quarterback that doesn't have great arm talent but can get him the ball within the hashes, and boom, watch him go. And now watch him go as we go into the 3rd round. We are just waiting and waiting as my top tight end, and I'm biased, but he's your number 2. He was my number 1 tight end, and we're just watching him slide off the board. It's disgusting. And again, if he wore even Iowa State Cyclone colors, he would have been off a day ago. But no, since he's a Falcon, Cole, we're watching him go a day later and maybe a few hours later than he probably should. I'm disgusted by this, and someone that covers the MAC, I can't stand it.
Well, again, I don't think we necessarily have to wait too long. I'm hoping Denver coming back at 51. Tight end is definitely going to be on their board. Harold Fannin, I think, would be excellent in that offense, so fingers crossed.
What
But if
team
not,
did
we
you
may be
say?
getting
I'm just appalled. What did you say?
the Denver Broncos coming up here. They have pick
It'd be
51.
it would be a good pick.
That's why
I'd be fine with that.
That's why I'm not speaking. I'm already starting because we don't take a running back. I'm gonna flip over a freaking table.
A running
Hey,
back?
guys,
Fannin can do that for you.
Go ahead, Cole.
I totally forgot that Gunnar Helm, the tight end of Texas, is still on the board. My number 4 tight end. So I had mentioned Elijah Arroyo and Aronde Gadsden, but I think there's a good chance that Gunnar Helm also comes off the board before Harold Fannin. I don't think he should, but I had him mocked to the Denver Broncos in the 3rd round, so that is potentially a fit for him with Denver. But Vince is absolutely right. I mean, it should be a running back for Denver when they come up. I mean, no excuse with Caleb Johnson still on the board.
Listen, Cole and I are pretty tight. We're not going to lie. And we text a lot, like constantly, especially during NFL season. And you know damn well, I gave you the business time and time again about Bo Nix, right? But at the end of the day, he's not good enough to carry the team. I had fun busting your chops now and then, but he's good, but he's got a long way to go. So you cannot put this much pressure on his shoulders without getting him some weapons. That is the one thing they had last year that they didn't, like I said, didn't even properly utilize. Go out and get this guy something. I mean, we're not even on the Broncos pick, but it's just, the more I think about it, the more chippy I get on the subject.
I mean, the Texans aren't in shop for...
Their defense is incredible. I'm sorry, I'll stop in a second about Denver.
Sorry,
but
you're good.
Their defense is incredible. You have a young, strong-armed quarterback who's willing to listen and learn from his head coach. Why not get the guy some weapons? Case closed, and I'll stop now. But it's just how I feel when it comes to that situation.
And you don't know what you have at quarterback with Bo Nix. I mean, maybe he's not the MVP guy. Probably isn't. But he is bodacious, Vince. Listen, he brought your team to a playoffs. He did exactly what he had to do in his rookie year. He is an older rookie.
I think he put up 50 on the Browns.
Listen, you have a guy that won football games his rookie year. That is not easy to do. Not every quarterback does that in his rookie year.
Yep.
I talked about it yesterday. Peyton Manning didn't win football games his first year.
3-13.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen a lot of guys struggle. He was not one of them. Surround him with talent. We got a water bottle for a winner, Vince. Oh, we're going again. Didn't like the water bottle.
The guy's got a St. Ed's basketball hoodie on. I didn't realize they had a team.
I mean, I heard they just let anyone on that team these days.
Oh, they performed about as well as Duke did in the Final Four.
Oh.
This guy over here.
They did make the Final Four, though.
They did. And they had it in the bag. Cost me some serious money, but that's a conversation
Cole,
for a different day.
Who do you think is the team that could end up taking Fannin? As I think this pick is being made now. Sorry, I'll let that question for later.
So the Houston Texans, they traded up into this pick. They have taken Ariante Ursary, offensive tackle out of Minnesota.
Yeah, he's a big offensive tackle. I think that this is certainly just about protecting C.J. Stroud, who, unfortunately, the Texans, they really have not 100% figured out how to shore up that offensive line. And as good as that Texans team is, and it's their division in the weakest division in the AFC, they still need to find a way to make sure that they keep Stroud upright. And part of why he had a bit of a sophomore slump after a great rookie season, and he probably should be on the trajectory to be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL for the majority of his career. I see that skill from him, the ability, great pocket passer. But when you got a great pocket passer, he's got a little bit of mobility, but you need to find a way to keep him upright. And the Texans last year, they had some injuries at wide receiver. Tank Dell was out for a while, Stephon Diggs. So it was really Nico Collins was the guy. And so he had one target, and his offensive line really wasn't helping him out enough. So hopefully for his sake, this is a move that gets him some additional protection, some additional time, and he can find some healthy wide receivers out there on the field. If that's the case, don't sleep on the Texans because I believe in their defense. I believe in them as a well-rounded team. We have to still talk about them in potentially the Chiefs, Texans, Ravens conversation.
I think if the Texans were completely healthy last year, and oh my God, I mean, every team in the NFL could say that, right? But, Cole and I had them going at one point, I believe, to the Super Bowl, if not at least the AFC Championship game, right, Colio, in our preseason
Right.
predictions. And I think to me, they're always going to be a club that no one's going to take seriously until they could start rattling off 2 or 3 playoff wins every single year and competing in AFC Championship games. Say what you want about Deshaun Watson, but he once had the Texans up, I want to say 28-0 on the Chiefs in a playoff game. So it is doable.
Cool. Real quick before this pick comes in, it's already in. But is that pick from the Texans due to losing Laramie Tunsil and of them dropping him?
I would say probably. I mean, it makes sense, but I think Ursary's more of a right tackle, so I don't think he'll be the one you're seeing play on the left
No,
side.
is that a mystery who's going to play on
Well,
that left
actually-
side?
Well, I'll let Brandon hop in.
Well,
I think
this is
he's
a
gonna say
great pick
something.
for the Bengals.
Yeah, Cincinnati Bengals at pick 49 select Demetrius Knight Jr., linebacker out of South Carolina.
And we talked about they needed to shore up the offensive line and the linebackers. And there you go, Cole. What's this kid going to do for him? Because this is something they needed.
Well, I wasn't as high on Knight as some others when it comes to the linebacker position. I think he's going to be very helpful. He's a good run stopper. I think he brings physicality, actually a good frame there in the middle of the defense. He's my 80th overall prospect, still respectable. It's not that far of a reach by any stretch. But the Bengals, they just need to get more physical. They need defense. It's what we talked about yesterday. They got all these skill position players. They're paying all these guys on the outside, on the offensive side. But their offensive line has still not been flawless. They still had their issues. In defense, they lost a lot of their best guys in recent times, and they need to find a way to shore that up. So I think this helps. Jermaine Pratt, Logan Wilson, that was their main 2 linebackers out there. But this is a good third guy who could he potentially steal a starting job? Maybe. But he could be the third guy in that rotation. And like I said, he's still a respectable player. I believe he was my 7th linebacker just behind Carson Schlesinger, which the Cleveland Browns took just a little bit earlier.
Yeah, again, solid pick from Cincinnati to pick up a linebacker here. Looking forward to Seattle. Their pick just came in. So as we await that pick, Gray Zabel early
Who
in
Cole
round
said was his
1.
biggest stretch around when we said Tyrek Williams.
Right, which
But this
I
is
don't
that was a big
necessarily
stretch on
agree with.
Zabel.
It was a position of need. I still think that they could double down and take a true tackle at this point. I think they would have loved if Ariante Ursary was still sitting there available for them. I don't think wide receiver is completely out of the question, even though they did add Cooper Kupp. They could definitely still add more to that room. And again, tight end. Tell me, why can't I think of it? Who even is the starting tight end right now in Seattle? Why do I feel like
Noah
I'm missing
Fant.
something? Noah Fant. Yeah, I don't think Noah Fant necessarily stops you from taking anybody. So again, potential Harold Fant and landing spot. Also, do just want to point out, because I'm sure it is all over the internet right now, we're at pick 50. Shadur Sanders, Jalen Milroe, still both sitting on the board.
And this is it for Sanders. I mean, if it's going to happen, it could happen right now. I don't think it's going to, but it could.
Behind Sam Darnold. I don't hate it. I don't hate it because I don't think Sam Darnold's a long-term solution, but they paid him as if he's going to be.
True.
So I guess you're hedging your bet there a little bit, but the problem is I think Sam Darnold's an okay enough quarterback, and I think Shadur gives you a similar ceiling. If anything, you need to protect that asset that you just paid and, again, continue to shore up that line because if you don't, Darnold's going to struggle, but Sanders would have the same exact problems. His biggest issue is that he hangs on to the ball for too long and he generates his own sacks. I know his line was not good in front of him at Colorado, but that's just going to be accentuated at the NFL level. So I don't think this is a good fit for Sanders or Seattle necessarily because I don't think you're really getting that ceiling benefit behind Sam Darnold. If anything, maybe they take a Jalen Milroe or look a little bit further down the board at a Kyle McCord or a Will Howard. But I do not think this is the spot for Sanders.
Man, I totally forgot about Kyle McCord the second you said that. That's completely.
And by
slipped
the
my
way,
brain.
Brandon, I think this could be a potentially good spot for the Mike Green slide to
Yeah.
stop as well. I know they brought in DeMarcus Lawrence and they have Uchenna Nwosu and Boy Mafe, Derek Carr, but I think that Mike Green could instantly be a starter for them, and then those other guys are rotational pieces.
always say time will tell from here. We are 2 picks away from the Denver Broncos. And once we get through that Broncos pick, as we only have it here until 9 o'clock, so running a little short on time. It's not going to be the end of the world if we go over the 9 o'clock spot, as I do know the owner of Keon Sports, so it should be fine there. But as time does begin to wind a little bit down, I guess we could start to play our traditional games that we do every single year, with the first one being, guys, I'm going to name you the quarterback of each and every one of these teams, okay? And I think we're all going to agree that this will be the starting quarterback day one for this program. If not, you let me know, and I can make a quick change. But here's what I had, obviously. Tennessee with Ward, Indianapolis with Richardson, Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence, Houston with Stroud. Would we all agree with those 4?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Would we also all agree with those 4 finishing the season as the starting quarterback, unless there's an injury? There's 2 that I had a question mark on. Ward, because we have no idea how rookie season is going to go, and they still have Will Levis if they need to sit Ward down for a few weeks. And obviously Richardson in Indianapolis. Cole, we'll start with you. With that AFC South, what do you think?
Well, Ward's the number 1 quarterback in this draft, and he was selected at number 1. So, barring any injuries, he's the starter all year long. CJ Stroud is definitely not going anywhere. He could be a top 10 quarterback in the league for a long time. And Trevor Lawrence, I don't think he's going anywhere either. So he just needs some more protection. So it's Anthony Richardson, and I don't think Anthony Richardson ends the year as a starter. I think that there's a reason why Daniel Jones was brought in, and that is to potentially push him from behind and potentially to compete.
Not to cut you short, Cole, but we may have another rant here from Dom Clary. Seattle Seahawks have selected a tight end from Miami, Elijah Arroyo.
Oh, he went to Miami. Wait, is this guy that's like 90 years old? You said from Miami?
Correct. I don't know if he's 90.
No,
Probably
it's a different tight end. Not the guy who was in college for 9
the
years.
doctor? No.
There was Vince, there was a kid in Miami, I don't know if you know, his freshman year was 2016, and he just got done at Miami.
It's a long stretch.
He played 9 years of college football.
That's how long my daughter Mel has been alive.
Yeah. Yeah, this is pathetic and embarrassing. This is disgusting. I'm disgusted.
Elijah Arroyo, tight end of Miami.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what if everyone just goes to Miami and they just get drafted? He stinks. Miami players aren't that good. They stink. Cam Ward was the only good player on that team. They had 1 good defensive lineman. Let's just take everybody, shall we? I mean, what? I mean, I'm about to start doing voice impressions here soon because
They went to Minnesota.
Minnesota.
For the record, Elijah Arroyo is the second Miami player taken.
So yeah, and there's only 1 that should have been taken, and it ain't him. What are we doing?
He won't be the last one either.
Fannin Jr. right there. He's waiting.
Tom,
he's waiting in his home in Canton, just waiting for someone to pick him. I'm gonna throw up.
Panthers are betrayed. Panthers now on the clock. Did they just trade my Broncos? I think they did.
Yeah, Broncos have moved.
Oh, God. So what are we doing now? Denver should have picked a running back. Oh my God. Why would we trade backwards?
Well, it wasn't a running back. Panthers have selected Nick Scorton from Texas A&M.
Cole, before you go and give us good analysis, we're not leaving this place until Fannin Jr. is taken.
There's a couple people that might have a problem with
Are you prepared to mount the force tonight, Tom?
Bad news.
There's a girlfriend sitting over there with a different opinion, my man.
Yeah, I just got a finger pointed in my face.
I have a 4-year-old at home that has a different opinion as well, guys.
He can wait.
I gotta tell you, I love the shirt game tonight. We had a Bernie Kosar shirt. Long-time, dear personal friend of mine, Bernie Kosar. Remind me to tell you about that one day. And then we have an AC/DC shirt and then a Fun Pa shirt all in one room together. Deion Sanders has reportedly been calling NFL teams with a special draft day, buy one, get one deal.
You put it on Facebook.
That's a nice little pick, though. Edge rusher, Nick Scorton, out of Texas A&M.
Yeah,
Staying out of the MAC, which is always a smart move. Yeah, cool.
I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but the Panthers, they really need an edge rusher, and I think that Ted McMillan to start the draft, and then Nick Scorton, and if Bryce Young can really find what he found in the last couple weeks of the season, I mean, it's not out of the equation that the Carolina Panthers catch the New Orleans Saints this year. I really think it's possible that the Saints end up being the last in their division. We're going to play these games some more, but we're potentially headed in that direction. I spoke my piece about the AFC South, at least, than about the quarterbacks. Anthony Richardson, he's most likely to be the guy that's.
All right, Brandon. So I'm going to bounce to you on this one then. So, Brandon, I am giving you the AFC West because to me, three of them seem like locks, and we'll break in for the picks as we go. Cole, feel free to cut in at any time. Brandon, these to me seem like the most obvious. Clearly, Denver Knicks, Kansas City Mahomes, Chargers, Herbert. Clearly, Geno Smith's going to start the season in Vegas. Do you think his run's over?
No, I don't think his run's over now that he's back with Pete Carroll as well, which was the man that really revitalized his career. And he still played well enough without Pete Carroll, but I think he's got that extra security with Carroll there. And on top of that, unless Vegas does make a quarterback selection, which wouldn't completely surprise me at some point in this draft, then maybe we talk about the possibility of somebody taking over in garbage time because they're not making the playoffs. I don't think the Raiders are good enough for that.
Nope.
But that is really the only scenario outside of injuries where I can see any of these quarterbacks sitting down. Herbert is a solidified franchise guy. Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. And Bo Nix is in a critical sophomore season after a very, very, very good rookie campaign. Something incredible would have to happen for him not to have that spot.
Well, I want to know what's going to happen first tonight. Denver's going to take a skill player or anybody's going to draft somebody from the MAC. What happens first?
Real quick, Tennessee Titans pick 52. Oladejo, UCLA, the edge rusher.
I'm going to be married with kids by the time a MAC player gets drafted.
So, Cole, would you say Geno Smith starts at least the first 6 to 7 games in Vegas?
I think he starts the whole season.
Okay, so you got him going pillar to post. All right. It's the only one I put a question mark next to, but we'll see. I mean, also a new coach there as well, correct or no? Did they bring back
Pete Carroll?
Oh, that's right. Well, yeah, exactly. Pete Carroll.
That's another reason why I think Geno Smith is completely safe.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason he's there.
I would think so.
Well, he's got Pete Carroll, and then you have Chip Kelly, who's the offensive coordinator now, coming from Ohio State, going back to the NFL, and he loves to run the football. So they're going to lean heavily on Ashton Genty, who they drafted. So it's going to be hard for Geno Smith to completely mess up enough to lose that job because he's still a good quarterback, and they're going to run that football. Sure, he needs some more wide receivers, but I don't think there's any question marks in that division. I mean, Bo Nix, maybe a sophomore slump, but who's actually behind him? So nobody's going anywhere there in the West.
So, Dom, I did not plan this. This is purely coincidental, but it's flipping hilarious all at the same time.
Are we doing MAC starting quarterbacks?
No, Dom, your division here, because you're up next in our rotation, I kid you not, the AFC North. So I have written down Cleveland Flacco, Baltimore Lamar Jackson, Cincinnati, Joe Burrow, Pittsburgh, Aaron Rodgers. Now, you tell me, who is the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback opening day?
It's going to be Aaron Rodgers.
Think so?
Yeah.
No chance.
I think that
Kirk Cousins.
I don't think they want Kirk Cousins. They've wanted Aaron Rodgers for years. Aaron Rodgers is their guy in Pittsburgh. They've wanted him since he originally. I mean, when the Jets got him 2 years ago, they wanted Aaron Rodgers. I mean, you saw that Mike Tomlin and Aaron Rodgers were essentially flirting with each other on the sideline. I mean, Cole, do you remember that? They were like just eyeing each other, like giving each other hand signals, like asking when they're going out to dinner next. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, I think, wants to play for a guy like Tomlin, though I don't think it's going to end well if he does. I think that's going to end up being the guy. And even then, I think that quarterback situation-wise, it only puts him over Cleveland. And that's just because Cleveland has a old veteran and an unproven fourth-year guy. That's the only reason why. It's, did you trust a 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers or a 27, 28-year-old Kenny Pickett? And I want to say Rodgers, but I don't think there's a guarantee in that.
I'll tell you who the best quarterback in this division is, and you guys feel free to disagree with me, but in my humble heart, Joe Burrow. If you tell me who could you take, Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson, I'm still going Joe Burrow.
I'm going Lamar Jackson every day of the week. He can kill you with his arm, and he's shown that. When they revamped their offense, they said, hey, we want him to stay in the pocket a little bit more and throw the ball. He did that. Now, when a team can stop that or slow them down, you know what he can do? He'll kill you with his legs. He's that good. he is like if Cordell Stewart was given an opportunity to actually play quarterback and given a system in an era that would have allowed him to flourish. And Lamar has done that. I think Joe Burrow is highly overrated, Vince. I think he's a great quarterback, but I'm gonna be real with you.
Wow.
If I make a list of top 5 quarterbacks in the league,
I'm gonna let Cole break the argument in a second.
I think he's on the bottom end of that list.
Cole, yeah, we got one Burrow, one Jackson. You are the winning vote. Who's better and why?
I do agree with Dom that Joe Burrow's slightly overrated.
Oof.
But I still take Joe Burrow over Lamar Jackson.
In a heartbeat.
I think Lamar has proved that he can do more with less. Burrow hasn't.
I disagree because I feel like Joe Burrow has the worst coach.
Done more with less.
Hell yeah, he has, and he has the worst coach.
Okay, he's had Jamar Chase his entire career, one of the best wide receivers in the league.
No, he hasn't. He hasn't had his entire career.
Yes, he has.
Okay.
Oh, 1 year where he missed the entire year because he was injured.
And he went to the Super Bowl with them.
No, he didn't. His first year was Jamar Chase's rookie year. They went to the Super Bowl. They've gotten rid of that core. That defensive group is completely gone at this point. Bates is gone. He left years ago. They lost their 2 best pass rushers. Now he has an overpaid T. Higgins and an overpaid Jamar Chase, and that's what he has to deal with. Who's the number one who's the best wide receiver that Lamar Jackson's had, Cole? Who would you say?
That's tough. I mean, I think Mark Andrews has been his best receiver, and he's the tight end. So Mark Andrews has been his safety valve for quite a long time. I mean, Zay Flowers is good right now, but give me Mark Andrews at tight end. I agree with your argument, Dom, that yes, Joe Burrow has had the better wide receivers. That's a given. 4-down conclusion, easy, signed, sealed, delivered.
But he's had the worst head coach times 10.
At no time has the Bengals' defense been nearly as good as what the Ravens' defense has been. Has their offensive line been nearly as good as the Ravens' offensive line? No. Has their run game been quite there? I don't know. I'd still give the Ravens the run game like the slight edge because even when it was J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, they balanced well.
Why is that run game great? Because you have to account for Lamar Jackson, his legs. That opens up everything else, and that's due to Lamar Jackson. He hasn't had a wide receiver that can properly catch a ball and make a play almost his entire career until Zay Flowers came in town. I mean, how long have you been waiting for Bateman to finally become that receiver number 1 or 2? And it just hasn't happened. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Cole, but I'm passionate about this argument.
Because he's had the worst head coach.
Vince,
I'm telling you right now.
He went to the Super Bowl.
I don't care.
How bad can the coach be?
If John Harbaugh was the coach of the Cincinnati Bengals, they'd have a Super Bowl ring right now.
No, they wouldn't.
Yes, they would.
No, they wouldn't.
He's one of the best coaches in the NFL.
He is. And guess what?
And Cincinnati has one of the worst coaches in the NFL.
He loses to Pittsburgh and Cleveland once or twice a year.
Because Mike Tomlin has like a voodoo doll over the rest of the league.
Then what does Cleveland's excuse of beating Baltimore every year?
If anyone happens to care, Tampa Bay has taken Benjamin Morrison, cornerback out of Notre Dame. Please continue.
Solid pick. Okay, Brandon.
I need an ally.
You settled argument then. Who is the better long-term quarterback in the NFL? Who would you want, Burrow or Jackson?
Joe Burrow.
Thank you. Jackson is one run away from being injured every single time.
And Burrow's not? His knees are completely destroyed at this point of his career. He's been injured. He's missed an entire year, his first year.
He was hurt grown out of college.
I'm gonna fight for this. Lamar Jackson is an MVP, has 2 MVPs. How many does Burrow have?
I'm gonna give you the Maria McKee rule. We're moving on.
No, we ain't moving on. I'll fight you, old man.
Next division. All right. It's a toss-up.
I've got to see Lamar have playoff success. I understand he hasn't had the receivers.
Burrow's
that
had
Burrow
1
has.
year of playoff success.
How many has Lamar had?
If Mark Andrews catches that ball,
they have playoff success.
They're in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
so I'll give you that. And listen, I'm a big Lamar Jackson fan. I like him a lot. I truly do. But it is what it is there. All right, so moving on. This one to me, you guys are going to think I'm nuts, but I don't think it's the safe bet everybody thinks of. Okay, so I'm actually going to do this one. AFC North. Okay, AFC North. I have 3.
No, AFC East, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry, my man. AFC East. I have 3 question marks right now. You're going to think I'm nuts, but here are my 3 question marks. Josh Allen is a sure thing, right? I feel Miami, Tua is 1 hit away from being retired. Drake May, Rabel's going to want to come in and he's going to want to win. How long of a leash is he going to have in New England with May? Same thing with Fields. They're going to want to win. They're going to want to win now. How long of a leash are the Jets going to have with Fields? So why? I think it's a sure thing. Allen, Tua, May, Fields start the season as starting quarterback, all 4 of those teams. I got 3 teams there that I don't know how long they're going to last.
Real quick, Green Bay Packers select Anthony Belton, offensive tackle out of North Carolina State.
Cole, how far off am I with those three?
I mean, I think there's question marks for all of them. I think Drake May is probably safe. He had a decent year last year. I think he's probably pretty safe, unless they did something crazy at quarterback in this draft or in free agency, like going and getting a Kirk Cousins, because Josh Dobbs is the backup right now. Dobbs has had some moments when he stepped in, but
Yeah, but he's not taking anybody's job.
no, Josh Dobbs isn't taking anybody's job. So I think Drake May's in New England, and I think Travion Henderson going there, strengthening that run game continually helps him. I think the New York Jets, you can't forget who the backup is there. Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor's days are well behind him. If this was 3, 4, 5 years ago, maybe we could talk about him taking Fields' job, but I think Fields is pretty safe. I would say the one player I'd be paying attention most to. I don't think Tua is probably going anywhere. But it would probably not be because of poor play. It would probably be because of another head injury. And so I'm going to say that Tua is probably the most likely guy to lose his job. And that's just because of kind of the unfortunate side of things that's happened to him health-wise. So I'm hoping that's not the case. He's an accurate and good quarterback. I think he should be a starter for many years to come. But they need to be smart about what they do backup-wise. And I know they brought in Zach Wilson, but I want them to draft Dylan Gabriel, a guy who fits to his type of play style, so that way if they have to go to the bench, they don't lose much.
We have another competitor at the old prize wheel. Man, please take ×3 with whatever you spin. All right. So moving on, Atlanta.
She's so she's gonna have 3 water bottles.
The Atlanta South, or what am I saying? NFC South division here. As we kind of spoke about last night, in my opinion, one of the weakest divisions in football. You could see a team win that division almost every year with 9 wins, possibly even 10. Cole, I'm going to start with you. Now, granted, let's just say this. I think we would all agree clearly. Atlanta Penix, Saints Carr, Carolina Young, Tampa Bay Mayfield. I have one dot, and I'm pretty sure you could probably guess which team that is.
I mean, your dot is a lock, or your dot?
My dot's a question as in I don't think this guy makes it the whole year.
Yeah, New Orleans Saints. Problem is the Saints. They've really done a whole lot at the position. I mean, I find it hard with the current depth chart for Derek Carr to lose his job. I mean, he's gonna have to play really, really bad. But I mean, rather than shock, I would say that maybe.
Actually, I had Carolina because I made this chart a couple days ago before they just drafted a quarterback, but still.
I don't hate that, and I'll step in really quickly. Trey Harris, by the way,
was it Andy,
selected by Los Angeles.
Am I crazy? But was it Andy Dalton last year that stepped in?
Andy Dalton stepped in, but Young ended up taking back over and
played
very
well. He played well.
But are we convinced that that's going to carry over?
Hey, no. I'm going to make an argument for the young man.
Please do.
That team started to play good football. They were playing hard.
They
were
did.
playing competitive. He's already had, was it 2 head coaches, Cole? He had Reich, and now it's the second coach. We got to give this kid a chance. I mean, we give him 4 games. We throw him out. We replace him and throw in an old rifle. And then the old rifle plays well. Then he doesn't. You put the young stud back in. They didn't win a bunch of football games.
I agree with you here, Dom. I agree with you. And quarterbacks are pulled way too quickly anymore, and Bryce Young should be the starter. All I am saying is I'm not ready to say that he's a lock to start the remainder of the year, because I don't think all of his problems have just magically gone away after sitting for a few games.
No, but this is now a team that says, hey, after that first year, they said we made the wrong decision, and they were ready to move away from them. They decided that, hey, maybe he's not the guy, had to go back to him, and guess what he do? Guess what he did? Pardon my speech. He said, hey, this team can fight with me as the quarterback. We might not be able to win yet, but we're going to fight. We're going to stay in games. We're going to be competitive. This year, you give him a full season, we can see that full growth. Maybe he struggles game 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe so. But after that, we can see a guy that really starts to get his wings, a guy that starts to understand his options. You finally give him good wide receivers. You get an offensive line in front of him, a good running game. And then you get a defense that can be stout and be strong and keep you in games. Maybe not win you games, but keep you in games and give Bryce Young a chance. Show show your mettle. I think he can be the quarterback for the rest of the year, and I think the kid can be a stud if given the opportunity. But if they pull the plug after 1, 2, 3 bad starts, then yeah, he's going to get pulled because you're not giving this kid the chance. He has the intangibles. Yes, he's short. Yes, he's a little small. Maybe his hands aren't super big, but that doesn't always matter for every single quarterback. Give this kid a chance, let him go, and give him an opportunity to win football games. And I bet you'll be surprised this year when you look at the end of the record book and you see that the Panthers have 7 wins.
I'm actually going to keep it here for a second with Brandon and switch the subject for a split second. Still with quarterbacks. Brandon, I feel you're the appropriate person to ask this one too. Staying in this division, is Kirk Cousins still with the Atlanta Falcons in about a month from now?
I don't think there's a situation where he is. It is interesting that he did show up to voluntary team activities. He's in camp.
Yeah.
So he is playing nice with them, which I think is playing more into his persona than anything else. But I don't think it does anybody good for Kirk to stay on this roster. Even if Penix were to go down, get hurt, whatever, Kirk Cousins steps in and maybe wins you a couple of games, great. Now, he's not going to be the future after that. They've invested the draft capital in Penix. He's not going anywhere. So I think that the team respects Kirk enough to trade him. I think they're trying to work something out. And I think Kirk isn't pushing the issue right now because he's waiting until after the NFL draft so the same thing doesn't happen to him again. I think he does think there's a legitimate shot that he could still end up in a Pittsburgh, in Cleveland. Even Minnesota has been tied to him, with McCarthy really now entering his rookie year after being hurt all of last year. So, yeah, no, I'd be very, very, very surprised if Kirk Cousins was on the roster at the start of the year. And if he is, his strategy is just to wait for a starter to go down and then get dealt.
I still feel he's a good quarterback, like a really good quarterback.
He is.
I'm shocked at the fall from grace that he's had so quickly.
He rushed back from an Achilles injury. He changed up a lot of how he played last year. Like he started starting his stances on the opposite foot. He was never truly comfortable. And even in that state, he had a 500-yard game against Tampa Bay that he wins in overtime.
5 touchdown, 509. I played against a team called the Little Giants in fantasy football that kicked my butt that week because they had Kirk Cousins.
Right.
The Little Giants?
The Little Giants are fierce. They've actually taken second
Wait,
place 2
you're
years
telling
in a row.
me the Little Giants that beat the Little Cowboys in the
they're
youth
a
football
vicious
championship?
fantasy football team. Their owner's a little shady.
I'm
Their
pretty positive that is your wife's team.
Yes. So moving on.
Yes. Anyway.
Listen, fellas, we're having a blast here. I think we're going to move past 9 o'clock if that's okay with everybody. We're not going to miss any bedtimes tonight? Okay.
As long as the building doesn't close around us.
What time does it close? All right, so we're going to be wrapping things up quickly here, but as we move on, Minnesota, J.J. McCarthy, Green Bay, Jordan Love, Chicago, Caleb Williams, and Detroit, Jared Goff. I think we're obviously in unison there that all 4 of those guys start the season, and I'm going to say I think it's pretty damn clear all 4 of those guys finish the season.
The only thing is McCarthy, are we 100% certain that he is healthy to start the season? I think if he is, he doesn't get pulled for anything other than injury. They got to see what they have in him. I still think he's going to struggle. I think everybody in this panel would agree with me, as we are now getting.
Well, we got Seth Rollins making the pick, man, and I told Cole, man, WWE is very serious. One of the biggest marketing machines in the world, and there's one of their world champions making the pick for the Bears. I love it.
See, I know who Seth Rollins is, but you should probably explain it to Dom.
Okay, really? Dom's one of the biggest big-time wrestlers. Anyways.
Yes, I was.
So would you guys agree
sarcasm.
all 4 of those guys go the distance then? Injury providing.
I don't know if McCarthy goes the distance depending upon what they do at his backup, but if they don't make any moves, then yes, he's going to go the distance. If they bring in Kirk Cousins to quote-unquote be his backup, then he won't go to the distance.
All right. The New York Giants. No, okay. To me, this is a fun one. New York Giants, Russell Wilson, Dallas Dak, Philadelphia Hurts, Washington, Jaden Daniels. I think 3 of those are clearly a lock. I don't think there's a snowball's chance in Hades that Russell Wilson is the starting quarterback of the Giants come week, I'll even say 8. You got Jameis Winston, who's going to be, right away is going to be the clubhouse favorite. And then you have the rookie.
That's such a weird room. Really quick, Ozzie Trapillo, offensive tackle from Boston College, going to the Chicago Bears.
Is there something wrong with Fannin?
Well, he's not an offensive tackle, so that's part of this.
Does he have like a rare disease?
They also already took a tight end.
They have a tight end. I understand.
I believe it's called Mackism.
But I'm more talking about like the picks before
the
too.
conference that nobody. Go ahead.
just like, does he have like a disease that we've abolished in like 1672? Like,
don't know.
what am I missing? I understand the Bears were in a team that we're gonna pick them.
All right, guys, so we're going to do this instead. We're going to finish up this division real quick here. What do you feel is the week count for Russell Wilson? What week is he done?
5.
Wow, that's quick.
I think they're gonna be 1-5 or 1-4.
I think
They're gonna pull the plug.
But the Giants are going to suck no matter who plays. Brandon?
It's a weird quarterback room. I would honestly not be surprised if we see all 4 of them, including Danny Cutlets, get out there. Or Tommy Cutlets, rather.
What, Tommy DeVito?
Again, the best content quarterback room in the NFL.
It's for the Italian.
That room's going to be a mess. So I'm not confident to say that Wilson starts any amount of games. It's not going to be the whole season. I think 4 to 5.
Traded again.
Come on. We only have the room till 9:30.
Vince, there's children here.
My children.
Don't worry, Vince. Harold Fannin Jr. will still be there tomorrow.
Cover your ears, kids.
That's ridiculous.
Oh man.
Your kid. Come
By,
on.
by the way, Russell Wilson.
I'm legit pissed off right now.
I'll give me the starter for 3 weeks.
3
And-
weeks.
and
Wow.
Then he'll get pulled. He'll be the starter again somewhere around like week 11 to week 13 or 14, and then he's out again.
All right, I'm going to give you guys one more question on Wilson because I like him. I think he goes at least 6 or 7, actually. But yes or no? You're
I like him.
only
He starts half the year.
He will start at least half the year. Okay, listen. I want yes or no. I no explanations. Yes or no. Russell Wilson, Hall of Fame. I
No.
say yes.
No.
Yes.
So we got 2 yeses and 2 nos. The young gentleman in the white shirt in front of us, the portly fella. Yes or no on Russell Wilson, Hall of Fame. 1 finger for yes. He says no. Okay, moving on. So I believe he's a Hall of Famer. Conversation for a different day.
For 10 years, he was considered one of the NFL's very best dual threat quarterbacks. The league changed because of him, because of his presence. And what? He's not a Hall of Famer now because what? He had a bad year in Denver and he had an okay year in Pittsburgh. Get out of here. The kid's a Hall of Famer. He always has been.
I agree.
mean, when he made his debut in Seattle, no one thought that he was going to be what he was. He won a Super Bowl, probably should have won a second Super Bowl, and he kept that Seattle team, no matter who was on the roster, no matter how that team was structured, he kept that team afloat. Let Russ cook. That saying was there for a reason. It's because he took a bad team at times and made them a championship contender. Russell Wilson deserves in the Hall of Fame.
So
by far.
The 4th division in the NFC, and the final one we're going to talk about tonight before we flip the page for our final game here. This one to me is juicy. I love this division. Year in, year out. Always one of my favorite divisions. I have Stafford, Darnold, Purdy, Murray clearly as your 4 starters. I have Purdy going the distance. I have Murray going the distance, and I still say if the Browns would have just waited 1 year and drafted him instead of Baker Mayfield, we've been in a totally different world right now. But anyways, I do not see Sam Darnold making it the entire season. I don't care how much they paid him as Seattle's starting quarterback. And I think this is the year. I would never wish physical pain on any human being, but I think this is the year Stafford finally gets hurt to the point where he can't keep playing. So I believe the Rams and the Seahawks, that's it. They're looking in a different direction by Thanksgiving. What do you guys think?
Well, Purdy's a system quarterback, and the 49ers should look for somebody who is a better player. I think Purdy can win you ball games, but is when he has injuries around him, and there's no Christian McCaffrey who had been healthy previously, but wasn't last year. He kind of returned back to his Carolina Panthers. Without those types of guys really covering him up, he was actually asked to make something happen. He couldn't do it. So the 49ers, should they move on from him, I think that they should move on from him. Are they too stubborn to do so? I think Purdy probably makes it the entire season as long as he's healthy.
I mean, again, it
Sam
should be noted, we brought it up last night, Purdy still has not been extended by the 49ers.
Right, but we'll see what happens. I think there's a chance maybe they could do something, but I think they're kind of just holding out right now and hoping they don't have to pay him as much money and prove to him that, hey, your market's not as big as what it actually is. But I think they'll pick it up. But needless to say, I think he'll play the whole year. I think Seattle, they paid enough for Sam Darnold, and he had a good enough year last year that I think he's going to go the distance. Kyler Murray's safe. It's Matthew Stafford. Been waiting for the moment in the last 2 years that I'm not sure if that elbow, if that arm can hold up, and I don't think he's going to be the guy by the end. I think they'll draft a quarterback still either tonight or tomorrow, to potentially be his successor. But don't forget, Jimmy G's also who has some experience to step in if need be.
Well, fellas, this now, as we wrap things up for the night, 9 o'clock is upon us, so we're going to go ahead and take this home in a few minutes. But want to finish it off with really our favorites like we do every single year. I've nailed the Rams going to the playoffs. I think one year I actually had them going all the way to the Super Bowl. My God. It always seems to be that team that causes conflict. Junior high in here tonight. Okay, so
It's
NFC.
your brother that made me laugh.
Uh-huh. So NFC, here's what I have, all right? And you guys tell me where you disagree. We'll do the old from Vince to Cole to Dom to Brandon. East, Philadelphia. West, San Francisco. South, Tampa Bay. North, Green Bay. My wild cards, Washington, Dallas, and Detroit. So I actually have 3 teams from the NFC East going to the playoffs. I have Philadelphia, Washington, and Dallas. I think the Giants are going to stink. In the West, I have San Francisco winning it easily. I think you're going to see the Rams taper off, Arizona, middle of the road, and Seattle's going to have a disastrous season. In the South, I think Tampa Bay just edges out Atlanta as they did last year, although to me that one's a coin flip. And like I said, I think Detroit is going to come out of the gates with a vicious schedule. Their schedule gets released next week. I think they're going to have a brutal schedule. There's going to be a lot of pressure on them. Eyes are going to be on them. They lost both of their coordinators. I still see Detroit making the playoffs, even maybe possibly making the Super Bowl next year. But I think they're going to get off to a slow enough start that they're going to have to settle for a wild card. Cole.
North, the Lions, they're going to take a step back, but they're still going to win the division. The East, the Eagles. The South, after what I've seen to start this draft, I think the Falcons are still just a touch off pace. So give me the Buccaneers. And then out West, even if Stafford doesn't finish out the year as the starter, the Rams probably are in a position right now to win that division again, even if it's ever so close. The wild cards, the Commanders, they're going to easily get that 5th seed. Give me, Commanders with the 5, and then the 6th spot. I am going to say that's the Green Bay Packers. And the 7th spot, I actually think it's going to come down to the Arizona Cardinals and the Chicago Bears, and give me the Chicago Bears sneaking it out.
Wow. See, I have them sneaking ahead of Minnesota. Like I said, I had Green Bay, Detroit, Chicago, Minnesota. You got the Bears creeping into the playoffs. Interesting. Downer.
Yeah, with the East, I think it's pretty easy there. The answer is the Eagles. You look at the North, I think there's a lot that could happen. I think that there are some people that think that Minnesota can still find a way to win that division with McCarthy. I'm not one of those people. If you remember last year when McCarthy was drafted, Vince asked me what's good about him. I said nothing. So there's that. Though I'm a little bit more of a believer now than I was last year. Not the case. And I know we like the Bears, but I believe in curses, and I believe the Bears are cursed. I think they're a wild card team. I don't think they can win that division this year. I think that's the Packers this
You're
year.
picking them as a wild card team too?
I think if
I
they're
do
getting
not
in,
see
it's a
them making
wild
that
card.
jump. No way. Okay.
Oh, I mean, falling into the wild card. Not. I mean, remember, 3 teams make the wild card, Vincenzo.
Yeah, I know. Brandon.
Okay.
All right, so I guess my big upset
Wait,
out of this...
Dom, did you finish?
No.
Sorry,
right,
Dom.
Yeah, what?
I didn't think you did. My bad.
So with the South, the Buccaneers is the easy one. In the West, the West,
the easy one.
No love for the Falcons, but go ahead.
All right.
Brandon,
Do your thing.
They're 3 deep at receiver.
Brandon?
They're no Max.
Loaded.
But
I
They
don't care
took
if they're
James
12
Pierce.
deep. I don't care if they're 12 at receiver. I don't care. I don't care if they have Randy.
Atlanta's never making the playoffs again.
I don't
Cole's
care.
right.
Randy Moss, Santana Moss, they ain't got nothing. Buccaneers in 5. If you look in the West, I think I'm going to call for something that I don't think anyone else is calling for. I think the Arizona Cardinals are going to win that division. Woo!
Wow.
I'm calling for a huge jump. I think we're going to see San Francisco continue to struggle.
I can see that too, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that we're going to see Seattle not be the team that's going to step up. I think they fall down and they end up tanking.
Agree.
And I think the Cardinals are going to be the team that gets steps up because of that. I think they're the team. I think it's time for. If it's not time for Murray now, he's never going to have his moment in the sun.
I'd agree with
so
that
you either win the division now or you figure something out with a quarterback because he ain't the answer.
I think Harrison's going to have a huge year. I'm thinking 95 catches. well
Thinking
over 1,000
95
yards.
touchdowns.
Nah, I'm on that, but he's going to tear it up. All right, Brandon, we've beaten up on your Falcons enough. Your turn, my man.
That's fair enough. So I'm actually going to say so Atlanta does win that division, but not by a lot. Again, Tampa Bay is still going to be excellent. I think they've done a good job adding to that room, but they always feel like they've taken advantage of a poor division. So I still think Tampa makes the playoffs, but this is the first time in a while I think two NFC South teams do make it in. I think my biggest surprise maybe is I do think the Washington Commanders have what it takes to win that division. Philadelphia, as dominant as they ended up being, tend to not be super consistent year over year. And on top of that, they did lose quite a bit on the defensive side of the ball.
Also
The free
agreed.
agents, they
Yep.
lost Kellen Moore as well on the offensive side of the ball. So I think they're still going to be good, still make the playoffs. But I believe in Jaden Daniels, and I believe in what they've done this offseason to improve that team that already didn't have a lot of weak spots. So I do think Washington takes it. Easier ones here. I think the Rams are going to win the West. San Francisco, again, still has a lot of work to
Wow.
do.
Taking
On
the
the
Rams, okay.
They have a lot of work to do on that defensive line. And again, Brock Purdy needs to show that he can win without elite talent always around him. Again, maybe Christian McCaffrey comes back healthy. That changes the dynamic. I have to see it, though, before I'm comfortable enough putting them up there. And then Detroit, while I do think they will take a step back because they have lost both of their coordinators, I don't think they're going to have the same kind of crazy injury luck that they did on the defensive side of the ball. And despite that, they still only lost 2 games in the regular season. I still believe in Detroit. I think they win that division. And then wild card teams, Philadelphia, I think, is the 5th seed pretty easily. Tampa Bay, as I mentioned, is going to sneak in there. And I think Chicago is going to jump up and take that 7th spot. I am not a Jordan Love believer, and I'm not a believer in the way that Green Bay is continuing to build that team.
So we are way
The defensive side of the ball has not been great. Jair Alexander may be on his way out there. And again, they refuse to address wide receiver and that they go and get a traditional X kind of guy. They just continue rotating in these role player types for Jordan Love, and that's not a recipe for success. They got to the playoffs. They looked bad. I don't see them being able to squeak it in this year.
As we move to the AFC, some interesting selections there. I still love Dallas. I don't know why. I mean, Cole could tell you every week the NFL prediction show, they time and time again are my sucker bet. I don't know why. I always think they're going to do something. But again, next year I do have them as one of those wild cards. You made a great point, though, with Philadelphia, Brandon. I do see Philadelphia as a boomer bust team. They were a team last year that needed everything to go right to win the Super Bowl, and then it did. Good for them, right? But this was a team where the coach was screaming at fans at one game. You know what I mean?
Again, Sirianni is an excellent coach, but point being, consistency isn't the name of the game for them. They are an incredibly talented team. That is not the question at all. But it's very hard to repeat as Super Bowl champs, and we've seen them fall apart before. We saw it a couple years ago where they got off to an incredible start, lost, I think, 5 out of 6 to end the season, and they got bounced by Tampa Bay in the playoffs and got just absolutely boat raced, despite being the much more talented team. So I got to see them do it a couple years in a row, string those together for me to really believe
I agree.
in Philadelphia to win that division. Again, I still have them as the 5th seed. I don't think they're falling completely off, but they haven't done a lot to improve the team after that Super Bowl win, and Washington is doing a very, very good job in free agency so far.
So here's what I have in the AFC, and I don't think if you guys were listening to the show last night, anybody out there listening from last night into tonight, thank you, first and foremost, thank you. But this should not shock you. So for me in the AFC, my top 6 is a lock. If I was to whip out a FanDuel app or whatever the heck they call that thing where people bet with, I think these 6 for me are an absolute lock for next year. Buffalo, Kansas City, Houston, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Chargers. Those are my top 6 all day, every day. I'll say it again. Buffalo, Kansas City, Houston, Baltimore, Chargers, Bengals. To me, it came down to who's going to sneak into that 7th spot. Last year, we saw Denver do it. We've seen Miami over the years. They made the playoffs 2 years ago, then had to play at the frozen tundra of Kansas City and just out-froze that game. So to me, it was, who's going to get that 7th pick, right? It's so hard to count out Pittsburgh because they're there every flipping year. Cleveland, my heart says Cleveland. I would love to see them sneak back into the playoffs, but I don't think Flacco makes it past week 8. I love the guy, but I don't see it happening. So then I thought to myself, well, either the Colts could sneak in at number 7, Denver could sneak back in at number 7, or Miami could sneak back in at number 7. I hate to say it because I like the Colts, I like the Broncos, but I'm actually taking Miami. I think if Tua stays healthy for an entire season, they get that final playoff spot. So again, just to recap that, my picks: Buffalo, Kansas City, Houston, Baltimore win the division. Dolphins, Chargers, Bengals win the wild card spots, with the Chargers and the Bengals getting those wild card spots pretty easily. Cole.
With the quarterbacks, but there's a lot of questions. Who's actually when it's when they play, will they continue? Um, I think there's a lot of questions, and I think Denver Broncos about to come up on the clock after Baltimore Ravens just get richer and Mike Green, the
Like,
slide
how do they
finally
keep
spots for
doing
him.
this? How do they
So
keep doing this?
the star edge
Every year.
rusher of Marshall, who's my second best edge rusher, now goes to the Baltimore Ravens, and they just get better and better. So it leads me right back to talking about the AFC, and I think that the Kansas City Chiefs, uh, they actually took a step back last year and still won the division. I think addressing offensive line with Josh Simmons is going to help. I think you're going to see the Chiefs be fine. They're going to win their division in the West. And then in the North, it's going to be the Baltimore Ravens, who, again, just got richer here with this Mike Green selection. They've got a good team. Then in the East, the Buffalo Bills, they're head and shoulders above everybody else. And then the South, it's Houston Texans. It's their division to lose. Those four are pretty obvious. Now I'm going to say that I think Cincinnati, they're focusing on the defense right now. I think that Cincinnati, they're probably going to get likely the 5 spot. Out west, I think that the Chargers, I'm not impressed with what they've been doing. No more Joey Bosa either. I think that the Denver Broncos, especially if they could take a running back here in this selection, give me the Denver Broncos at 6. Sneaking into the 7th spot, I think there are multiple teams that are going to be fighting for this. But I'm going to say right now, today, based off of what I've seen, give me a sleeper and Mike Vrabel turning around the New England Patriots, and maybe the Patriots in a weaker division sneaking in at that 7th spot ahead of the Pittsburgh Steelers, ahead of the Browns, ahead of the Los Angeles Chargers. I'm going to say New England might be sneaky there.
And Vince is gone as we wait for the pick of the Broncos.
Oh, they
and
took a running back.
And
He's not here to see it. They took a running back.
Vince, you got to come in.
R.J. Harvey, University of Central Florida, running back, has gone to Denver.
And it
Sorry,
wasn't
Vince.
Caleb Johnson.
It
That's
was
a
not.
mistake.
Vince McKee.
You weren't here, so you don't get to collect your prize. I'm sorry, man.
The Broncos have taken a running back.
Surprisingly, not from the MAC.
No, they did not take Penny from Toledo. I don't even know if he's in the draft.
Vince is not going to be happy if he would see my big board right now, though.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, break this pick down for us, Cole. What can we expect from, what is it, Harvey? What can we expect from the newest Denver Bronco running back in a running back room that has really struggled? I mean, can I say since Noshawn Marino was the running back there in the Peyton Manning years?
Well, he's a home run hitter, and he was productive at UCF. I mean, a lot of big plays. I mean, he scored touchdowns. He had a lot of big runs. And the thing for me, though, is do I value him as a starter in the NFL? I don't think the Denver Broncos are one team of the entire NFL where you had the Raiders, you had the Broncos, you had a couple other teams where they really needed a starting running back. And I don't think this is a starter here. I think this puts you right back in position where Audric Estime is your starter. He's your guy on first and second down. You're going to see R.J. Harvey get the spot work coming in and being the second part of that 1-2 punch there. Sure, he might burst for some big plays, but he was my 135th overall prospect in this class. In a loaded running back room, he was way down my list here. I thought there were a ton more running backs who could have gone ahead of him. I mean, I could pull this up here, guys, and before I pass this off, and I'm sure Brandon's got something to say about this. He was pretty far down my list. I believe he was in the late teens, and just confirming right now, he was number 18 of the running backs on my list.
Yeah,
I'm not
Caleb
particularly
Johnson, my
surprising.
number
I
3,
never
was
heard
still
of him.
available.
I'm sorry, I'm not as much of an expert as you guys. I mean, not even close. But I never heard of the
There's
guy.
significantly
So,
better names on the board. Cam Scadaboo, Caleb
Frustrating.
Johnson, Dylan
That's a
Sampson.
guy who I had available with Scadaboo. I understand that he might not be the most glorious pick, but
Instead, last night we took a defensive back who looks to try to go for pick sixes instead of actually covering the receiver. So
I would have rather even had like a
Kinda
Kyle
rough.
Manung guy here out of Rutgers. Like
Yeah.
I don't really, not a big splash
But
pick here.
as they are flickering the lights, which means, guys, it is time to take this one home. First of all, Cole, we want to thank you again for joining us. Wasn't the same without you here in person, but we do appreciate you making the effort. Want to thank my brother Don McKee for bringing in the gigantic Keon Sports sign a little bit earlier today. Daughters Maggie and Madeline for the prize wheel shenanigans tonight. Thank you. And Faith for working the crowd as only you could do. So we appreciate all three of you very much. Brandon Soeder, thank you for running the board. Dom, tremendous job as always. And by the time you get home tonight, there might be a MAC player off the board. We still got a long way to go. Any final thoughts as we bring this one home, gentlemen?
Final thoughts. First of all, want to say a big shout out to you guys. Again, new equipment, new setup this year, made it work. I was able to join you remotely both nights. It's really fun. Happy to still be a part of one of them. Like what they've done so far, addressing the defense, getting Mason Graham a physical, explosive defensive tackle there in the middle. Forgot totally about Malik Collins being added to that roster, him being in the middle. So I think him and Graham next to each other is going to be a threat. And then you have a linebacker who can cover running backs and tight ends well. And then you also have now a running back in Quinshon Judkins, who is the true starter. So I like what's happening for the Cleveland Browns, a ton of assets, and see what happens the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, and I do agree with you, Cole. I like what the Browns are doing. They're setting themselves up for the future. And based on the fact that they haven't reached for a quarterback at this point, I think they understand that they're not in a position to compete this year. So interested to see still what they do going forward. And again, the quarterbacks I keep talking about are still available on the board. So it goes to show that we don't always know more than these NFL teams do, and it's quite possible that the Browns still address quarterback on day 3. Really, like Carson Swessinger, I thought was a little bit of a reach considering the position, but otherwise, Quinshon Judkins, if you're going from Chubb to Judkins, it's an incredible transition there. Got him around the same pick that we got Chubb in the draft that he was taken in as well. So a little bit of a passing of the torch there, and always good to see an Ohio State guy coming back to Cleveland. But yeah, at the end of the day, we still got a lot of draft left. Third round still going tonight. Keep an eye on the Browns. I don't think they're done dealing yet either. But overall, good job for Banju Berry and crew.
yeah, Browns, good draft day. Day 1 and day 2 so far. Still some third-round picks to get through for the Browns. We will not be here for that. But a good day for the Browns. I know I'm the resident Steeler fan here, but I watch the Browns. I do. I mean, I get paid to watch them. Maybe not report on them. I get paid to watch them. So I see this team a lot. I see some of the flaws that they have, and they filled some of those needs here today. They got a linebacker they needed. Last night they got a defensive tackle that's really going to help things for them. Then you get a running back who is really impressive. I mean, the human joystick is what they got in Judkins. Really excited about the Browns selection. I mean, you guys know that I'm disgusted with the MAC not getting selections so far here tonight. And it looks like in the second round, don't make me mad, Brandon. It looks like that we're going to see that it's going to be round 3 of day 2 of that we're going to see people get picked from the MAC in Alexander and Fannin Jr. I'm disgusted with that, but I mean, we also saw a pass rusher from Marshall that was due to get drafted earlier. And we all had him as our number 2 pass rusher, and it took him forever to get picked. So I think there's a few things that we can be upset about. And one thing I do want to say, Brandon, great job with the setup here today. We had some issues going in. We were not able to get the camera going here today, but I cannot express how difficult it is to do a live show for the first time. It is different than doing a broadcast, radio broadcast, which we have done. It's harder than doing a play-by-play video broadcast, which we have done here at Keon Sports, and so much more. We've done it with hotspots. We've done it with plugins. It's a hard thing to do. Sometimes you don't know how your luck is going to play out, even when you do test everything. So, Brandon, thank you for everything you do. This is something that we talked about for a while. We had the new board that Cole mentioned before. This thing has been beautiful. I mean, come on, beautiful sound that we have. Something that we weren't able to do without jerry rigging something. And so it's really impressive what we've been able to do. Thanks to Vince for allowing us to do this and have these stupid creative ideas that allows us to be here at Chatty's here tonight with a board and attempting to do what we did here tonight, which we've done successfully. A lot of people try to do these live shows and they fail. We had an audience. We had live audio, and we put on a good show today. So we can say proudly that we were able to put on a great show, and excited for what we have next. So yeah, it was a fun 2 days. Wish we could do it a little bit longer, but yeah.
So obviously you're welcome. We want to bring on real quickly here before we close out for the night our two lovely waitresses. Come on over here for a second, young ladies. Come on over. So I'm gonna hand you the headset, and then I want you to hand it to this young lady. Just tell everybody your name and who your favorite football team is. We want to give you some love tonight. You worked your butts off.
Hey everybody, my name is Sophia, and my favorite football team are obviously the Cleveland Browns. Let's go Brownies.
Woo!
Right? Woo woo.
Yeah, there we go.
Ooh, it's loud. My name's Olivia. I go by OJ here, but my name's Olivia, and mine are also the Cleveland Browns. So go Browns.
There we go.
Go
Take it.
Browns.
And what Sophia and Olivia neglected to tell everybody at home is they're actually paying their way through law school and medical school right now. So when you come out to Chatty's, ask for Sophia and Olivia and tip them like you're going to die tomorrow.
Tip
just
your servers.
Take every penny out of your account and put it on those bills. Ladies, thank you again. We appreciate you. Absolutely. Dom, just to respond to you real quick, and then obviously we're going to bounce it to Brandon here. Anytime, fellas. I mean, you talk about, hey, Vince has to trust in us and everything. Of course I do. Like, there's no three people in this world I want to trust more so than you guys. It is
Take
what
that,
it is.
Emily and the girls.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they left, and I could say it. So there you go. Brandon.
He already wrapped up.
Yeah,
we're
sorry.
waiting for you.
I was doing
I didn't want to
ownership.
close the stream without
Will
you.
you close the stream up, old man?
Sophia and Olivia
way
were
past your
gonna
bedtime
beat
now.
the daylights out of me if I didn't introduce them. So hey guys, as always, thank you. We're gonna go ahead. We're gonna turn the lights off here, much like the Broncos' chances next year without a decent running back. But it is what it is, fellas. What do you say we do it again next year?
I'm down. I have to check
Sounds
my
good.
calendar, but
Sounds good, Colio.
I think
Next.
I'm free.
All right.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I think it's okay.
If a MAC player isn't drafted in the third round, count me out.
Well, all right,
So
Tom, it's been nice
we'll be an
working with you.
opening next year or a fourth. All right. For Cole McDaniel on location, Brandon Soeder, Penar. I don't even care if he pronounces it differently. I just love saying that. Dom, Clary, and myself, Vince McKee. Again, Faith, Emily, the girls, everybody who worked the room. Thank you very much. That's it. We're going to send you home in 3, 2, 1. We'll talk to you some other time. Thank you.